I call to order this regular meeting of our Scottsdale Unified School District number 48 Governing Board. Tonight is Tuesday, February 21st. The time is 6:02 p.m. Before I ask that Board Member Werner lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to ask that you please remain standing after we have completed the Pledge of Allegiance as we recognize the great loss of our former teacher, administrator, and superintendent, John Creekard. Board Member Werner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to note that Dr. Creekard's contributions to our Scottsdale Unified School District are immeasurable, and our thoughts and best wishes are with his family during this very challenging time. At this time, we will begin with a roll call from my far right.
Amy Carney.
Zach Lindsay.
Libby Hart-Wells.
Karen Warner.
And I'm Julie Sanowski. All members are present, and we do have a quorum. I'd like to make a motion to approve our agenda this evening. Are there any requests to alter our agenda? Board Member Hart-Wells.
I'd like to pull from the consent agenda, which is item 8, I as in iodine, and K as in potassium.
I note that Dr. Hart-Wells has asked to pull the 8I, the recommended approval position and job description for emergency management program supervisor, and K, approval of advancement via individual determination AVID expansion plans. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
So I would like to pull 8J, and I also had 8I on my list.
I note that Board Member Werner has asked to pull the recommended approval of revised job description for general counsel. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve this agenda as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Hart-Wells. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 5-0. We are going to start off this meeting with some great celebrations to honor and recognize our students and our staff members. Dr. Menzel.
Good evening, President Sanowski, Vice President Werner, and members of the Governing Board. As you know, and the audience may have noted from your comments earlier, we lost former SUSD Superintendent John Creekard yesterday. I will address that sad news more fully in my comments. While our hearts are heavy, Dr. Creekard loves celebrating SUSD, its students and its teachers, and we feel sure he would have especially liked this evening's recognitions. We're going to kick things off with something that began back in 2018 during his first few months as superintendent, something that he strongly supported. 4.5 years later, it has come to fruition. Please welcome our Executive Director of Elementary Education, Margaret Cerna, to the podium. Margaret?
Good evening, President Sanowski, Vice President Werner, Dr. Menzel, and Gladys. It is my extreme honor to get tonight's celebration underway with something that has been a massive undertaking for quite some time, as you indicated, Dr. Menzel. I would like to invite Anasazi Principal Jennifer Waldron and her wonderful staff to the stage. Come on down. All around, all around, all around us. Come on. It was the summer of 2018 when Anasazi, under Principal Waldron's newly established leadership, undertook the process of transforming itself into an international baccalaureate primary years program school. That journey is now complete, with the certification late last month of Anasazi as an official IB-PYP World School. Certified by an organization respected worldwide for providing a rigorous framework for students from preschool to high school to actively engage in their own learning and transforming the way teaching is delivered. Today, it's my pride to wear Anasazi blue, and I would like to introduce Principal Waldron. Please share with us what that undertaking involved. Jen?
Good evening, President Julie Snowski, Vice President Werner, Governing Board members, Dr. Menzel, and Ms. Wagner. I am Jennifer Waldron, the super proud principal of Anasazi Elementary School. This IB-PYP authorization has been over 4 years in the making, and we couldn't be happier to celebrate this evening together with you all. Thinking back, so much has occurred during our journey through this authorization process. In late spring of 2018, Dr. Creekart had his first day back in SUSD serving as our acting superintendent. His first day and first calendar event happened to be my final interview round, a one-on-one with the superintendent to become Anasazi's principal. I remember it like it was yesterday. Later, in early July of that same year, Dr. Creekart and my direct supervisor, Dr. Hagigat, started asking me what my plans were for Anasazi, as there was much turnover and change prior to my arrival. I remember being a tad nervous and quiet, which I know is hard to believe for many of you in this room. But I answered with, respectfully, I don't even really know how to get to the staff lounge yet, but I'm sure we'll have a plan. We had a good laugh, but in that conversation, I asked the question, has anyone ever thought about continuing IB to the elementary years? From that moment on, the ball was rolling, and it hasn't stopped since. Almost immediately, teachers in our community fully supported this direction, and a new adventure and initiative was in full swing. So tonight, we recognize and celebrate not only the commitment of our Anasazi community, the amazing staff, the students, the families, and community partners over the years, but that of our Desert Mountain Learning Complex principals. A special shout out to Mr. Luke at Mountainside and Dr. Hirsch at DM and their IB coordinators. District leaders, yes, we can clap for them. District leadership from all coaches, directors, assistant superintendents, and the governing board from 2018 to today. It is easy for initiatives to be pushed aside, especially when there is leadership change at the top. But my first question to Dr. Menzel and the team when he joined SUSD was about the continued support of IB, and he has been one of our biggest advocates. Even those who have left or who have since left SUSD continue to champion around Anasazi. In looking at my last text from Dr. Creekart yesterday, it was him sharing how proud he was of all of us at Anasazi and the upcoming IB verification visit, wishing us congratulations and good luck, a message we will all hold forever dear in our hearts. Our journey was fast-tracked even when a global pandemic tried to get in our way. The team did not lose direction, and when given an easy out or a need to press pause on a huge initiative while shifting to virtual learning, they continued to focus on doing what was best for students while uprooting the way they facilitated instruction. In the summer of 2020, our amazing IB coordinator, Mary Ann McMurrin, who had come out of retirement to help us with IB, chose to retire again. I can't say I blame her. Many chose during that time. And so we needed to find a new person to be our IB coordinator. This person had big shoes to fill in a specialty such as IB, which is very rare. Finding someone knowledgeable of IB, especially in the summer of 2020, seemed impossible, but enter Sarah Armstrong, the lady next to me. In the midst of virtual meetings and schooling, Sarah joined Anasazi. She is a seasoned IB educator and accreditation coordinator. Although originally from Michigan, she lived in Sweden for 14 years. During that time, she worked as an IB accredited international school where she taught in the PYP and the MYP learning support. She also served as the school's Council of International Schools accreditation coordinator. She made her way back to the US and to Arizona, and somehow during a pandemic, she magically made it to 124th Street in Via Linda, virtually at least. This authorization could not have been done in the timeliness or the level of excellence if it was not for her dedication to IB and to Anasazi. So at this time, I would like her to say a few words.
At Anasazi, we say that becoming an authorized IB World School is a journey rather than an achievement or destination alone. During our 4-year IB PYP journey, Anasazi has worked diligently to learn the framework of the IB PYP and implement the 116 PYP standards and practices. Our teachers have completed IB workshops and additional professional development. They have reflected on their teaching and grown as educators. Anasazi classrooms promote inquiry and student agency. Classrooms foster a love of learning. During this journey, our teachers have collaborated for over 100 hours while weaving the Arizona state standards and SUSD curriculum into the IB framework. Our PYP program of inquiry includes 34 new transdisciplinary units with hundreds of meaningful learning experiences. As a whole school community, we have updated our mission and vision to create a culture that supports inclusivity and international mindedness. Our students see themselves as important members of their local communities and responsible global citizens. On our final authorization report, Anasazi received 22 commendations that reflect areas where we have exceeded beyond what is required for authorization. The IB verification team commended Anasazi for the caring and respectful climate in our school, the learning opportunities Anasazi has provided that connect students to their communities and the world, and the clear commitment of all stakeholders to the IB philosophy and program. The process of becoming an IB school is rigorous and challenging, and Anasazi completed all of this while navigating teaching through a global pandemic. Never once did our team waver in its resolve to become an IB PYP school. Anasazi has a remarkable community of educators, staff, students, and parents. All of these achievements, though, would not have been possible without our principal, Ms. Waldron, whose clear vision, insight, and leadership guided Anasazi to becoming its very best. It is a proud time to be an Anasazi Scorpion.
I know I'm gonna cry up here, but these people behind me and in the audience, our assistant principal, Andrea Martin, our classified and certified staff, our parents cheering us on in the auditorium, or virtually, and most importantly, our students. These people, in the words of the great legend Tina Turner, are simply the best. Each of the IB's programs, from the PYP at Anasazi to the MYP and DP at Mountainside and Desert Mountain, is committed to the development of students according to the IB learner profile. The International Baccalaureate Learner Profile describes a broad range of human capacities and responsibilities that go above academic success. These characteristics provide a long-term vision of education. It is a set of ideals that inspires, motivates, and focuses the work we do at Anasazi, uniting us in a common purpose. Simply put, we are inquirers, knowledgeable, and thinkers. We are communicators, and the SUSD communications team may think we're long-winded communicators at this point, but you gave me a live mic, and we have a lot to celebrate in regards to students in our community. We are principled, open-minded, and caring. We are risk-takers, balanced, and reflective. We are Anasazi, and we are SUSD proud. And we will continue to engage students in our community in a world-class, future-focused learning experience. Thank you again for your commitment to IB and for recognizing and celebrating Anasazi Elementary School tonight. We couldn't be more proud to be the 8th PYP IB school in the state, and for SUSD to now be able to offer an IB continuum from kindergarten to graduation, one of the very few in the state of Arizona. It is an honor and a privilege to serve students in SUSD alongside this group and those of you in the audience. Thank you to this team, and congratulations.
I would like to note that Anasazi, as Jen mentioned, is just one of 8 IB PYP elementary schools in all of Arizona. With Anasazi certification, Scottsdale Unified School District now offers complete IB curriculum from kindergarten to high school. Nearby Mountainside Middle School and Desert Mountain High School have offered IB middle years program, 6th through 10th grade students since 2020, and Desert Mountain has provided IB's diploma program to 11th and 12th grade students since 1999. Congratulations, Principal Waldron, and congratulations to the teachers and staff for seeing this through. You are truly making a difference for your students. And now I would like to start by presenting Principal Waldron, Assistant Principal Martin, with Scottsdale coins to congratulate you for your work. And then staff, I've got a basket full of coins. So on the way out, please stop, and I'm so proud of all of you. So there they go.
Thank you, Principal Waldron and the entire Anasazi team. We are so proud of all that you've accomplished, and we know that it's a reflection of tremendous work and dedication because you put your students first. So thank you for being here this evening. Up next, I'd like to invite Dr. Karen Benson and our Director of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Kim Dodds-Karen, to celebrate a special group of SUSD educators.
Thank you, Dr. Menzel, and good evening, President Sanowski, Vice President Werner, governing board members, and Mrs. Wagner. Dr. Dodds-Karen and I are pleased to be able to share a very special celebration with you this evening, that of our new and recently renewed National Board Certified Teachers, 8 of them, in fact. Would the following teachers and their principals, if they are accompanying their teachers this evening, please join us on the stage. Laura Mitchell from Hopi Elementary. Brandy Wilson from Navajo Elementary. Nancy Kavanaugh, Redfield Elementary. Brianna Maxwell, Hohokam Elementary. Heather Robinson, Desert Canyon Middle School. Patty Malley, Cochise Elementary. Susan Leonard from Ingleside Middle School, and Tammy Diaz from Saguaro High School. At this time, I'm going to invite Tammy Andreas from Cochise Elementary to join us on stage as well, because I believe you're going to share in some of the comments this evening. Dr. Dodds-Karen?
National Board Certification is a voluntary process that some educators choose to undertake. Here in SUSD, our teachers have the support of not only the district as they pursue certification, but also strong community support from the SUSD Foundation, the Charos, and the K-12 Center. These teachers are dedicated to their profession and want to be even better teachers for their students. It is a process that can take up to 3 years to complete, then must be undertaken again after several years. SUSD is proud to be home to more than 80 nationally board certified teachers.
To tell us a little bit more, one of our longtime National Board Certified teachers, Tammy Andreas from Cochise Elementary School, is going to share some of her thinking. Tammy?
Good evening, President Sanowski, Dr. Menzel, board members, and Gladys. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate SUSD's newest National Board teachers and our newly renewed MBCTs. National Board Certification was designed to develop, retain, and recognize accomplished teachers and to generate ongoing improvement in schools. It's the highest certification a teacher can achieve, and it is available in 25 certificate areas from pre-K through 12th grade. Each of these areas have an extensive set of standards which define what teachers should know and be able to do. Candidates must demonstrate a deep understanding of their students, content knowledge, best practice, use of data, and assessment. We analyze and reflect on our decisions and how those decisions impact student learning. We provide evidence of this through technical writing, videos, and student work samples. All students benefit from rigor in the classroom through academically, intellectually, and personally challenging experiences. Teachers pursuing certification experience these same rigorous challenges. Once achieved, board certification serves as a platform for teachers to continue to grow professionally and become leaders. Renewing one's certificate every 5 years is a challenge in itself as we document, analyze, and reflect on our professional growth and its impact on students since our initial certification. SUSD has a multi-layered support system. I would like to thank the district, Dr. Menzel, Dr. Dodd, Dr. Pasquale, Dr. Benson, the Scottsdale Foundation, the Scottsdale Charos, my fellow CSPs, and the recently retired Michelle Carskadden for working together to create generations of NBCTs in SUSD. Any teacher who has attempted board certification will tell you it is the most meaningful and rigorous professional development they have ever undertaken. Core to every decision we make is the question we ask ourselves daily. Why am I doing this for these students at this time and in this place? What better question than this to ensure that our impact on our students is always first and foremost in everything we do?
We are so pleased to congratulate our National Board certified teachers, whether you have just successfully maintained your certification by renewing, as Nancy, Brianna, Heather, Patty, Susan, and Tammy have done, or whether you are certified for the first time, as Laura and Brandy now are.
We are pleased to present to you these special plaques to celebrate your status as Scottsdale Unified School District Nationally Board Certified Teachers. Congratulations.
just come on over and we'll shake hands. That way we're not tripping through.
Congratulations to our National Board Certified teachers. We know this is a reflection of your deep commitment to our students and to the profession, and we are honored that you're here with us this evening and glad that you have chosen SUSD as the place to share your talents with the world. And while we're handing out the rest of the plaques, I'm going to invite Dr. Sackos to make her way towards the podium for our next set of recognitions this evening.
Congratulations, NBC teachers. Thank you, Dr. Menzel, and good evening, President Sanowski, Vice President Werner, governing board members, Ms. Wagner, and our guests here this evening. I am so excited to bring these celebrations of SUSD students and staff to you tonight. Each year, the Flynn Foundation recognizes outstanding high school seniors from around Arizona for their outstanding achievements in the classroom and the leadership roles they have taken on at their schools and in their community. The application process began way back in September with more than 1,000 applicants. In January, this was whittled down to about 80, and earlier this month, down to 39. 2 of those 39 are members of the SUSD class of 2023, and their faces will be familiar to you. Please welcome Saguaro's Bara Abdul Gugni. I practiced that a lot. I'm sorry if I messed it up. And Desert Mountain Zach Oken and their principals. Along with their principals and guidance counselors to the stage, please. I could go on for days about each of these students and their accomplishments, but I'm told that I can't. Suffice to say that they are the best of the best, regardless of whether they end up receiving the Flynn Scholarship in April. They represent what SUSD is all about. Bara was born in Syria and, with his family, immigrated to the United States as a refugee 6 years ago. His career ambition and much of his work he has done at Saguaro in the community arriving here is inspired by the shooting of his brother during Syrian civil war. Bara wants to become a surgeon. The life-saving work of the doctors and surgeons for his brother has led Bara to enroll in Saguaro's CTE Health Care Assistant Program, from which he will graduate in May with a Certified Nursing Assistant certification and to be the vice president of the school's HOSA, which is the Health Occupation Students of America Club. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Bara also is the president of the district's Math and Science Academy, based at Saguaro, is the senior class representative of the school's National Honor Society, is the president and founder of Saguaro's Amnesty International Club. He helps build leadership skills among younger students as a mentor at the Good Tree Institute, while expanding his own through his highly competitive leadership enterprise for a Diverse America program, or LEADA. He has helped lead a school fundraising campaign for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. He will graduate with honors from the Math and Science Academy, 8th in his class, with a 4.812 GPA. He has never received a grade lower than an A and has taken an impressive 18 honors or AP classes. I'm not done. And I'm getting winded, his only non-honors class has been in the subject in which an honors selection could not be offered. Well, Will have completed 32 hours worth of classes for college credit from the Scottsdale Community College. All in all, Bara is a credit to Saguaro and SUSD. He has taken on the challenges of adapting in a completely different kind of life here and having to learn a new language, while his family struggled financially, yet embracing opportunities to lead his peers with the wisdom and resilience not usually found in someone at any age, let alone 18. Congratulations, Bra, and my very special assistant, Miss Cerna, right behind me, is going to extend to you an SUSD challenge coin in recognition of your many accomplishments to date and the many more we for sure will see in the future. Congratulations. Moving on to a very familiar face, Zach Oken. You know him from his year as president of Student Advisory Board, but let me share a little bit more about Zach. Zach is an outstanding student who has made most of his preschool through high school SUSD career taking IB, honors, and AP classes since his freshman year. While maintaining his high academics, Zach is, let's say, Mr. Involvement at Desert Mountain High School and within the Desert Mountain community. As the Student Advisory Board president, and last year was the president-elect for SUSD, he enjoys advocating for all students' best interests. He is the student body treasurer and a leader of Desert Mountain student government. He is the team president for the robotics team. He leads his team to victories while encouraging others to find their passions in STEM. Zach is the president of the Science National Honor Society, president of the AP Student Association, president of the Investment Club, treasurer of the Ambassadors Club, and a member of DECA and the National Honor Society. Outside of school, he started STEM Educate, a nonprofit organization promoting STEM education on a global scale. He has completed 45 college credits while in high school. Despite all of these accomplishments, Zach's favorite part of high school is being the MC at assemblies and getting everybody involved and infused with school spirit. He will be one of Desert Mountain High School's 2023 valedictorians on graduation day in May and wants to study manufacturing engineering in college, and he hopes will lead to receive a master's degree in systems and robotics engineering in the future. Zach, on behalf of the Scottsdale Unified School District, please accept this challenge coin for all of your accomplishments and best wishes. Look at that. Both Bra and Zach have Flynn Scholarship hurdles yet to overcome with final interviews next month. We wish them both the best of luck, and if there's anyone in the audience from the Flynn Foundation or maybe watching us on YouTube tonight, you can't go wrong with choosing our students for your all expense paid $130,000 of scholarships to one of Arizona's 3 public university honors colleges. Staying on the subject of science and STEM, I'd like to invite the Desert Canyon Middle School DC Volts robotics team to the stage, along with their coach, Mr. Larry Bloom, and their principal, Mr. Robert Akbari. As they make their way to the stage, just so you know, if you don't know this already, about SUSD, we are way robotics here. From elementary school through high school, robotics programs are the perfect blend of science, math, critical thinking, and working collaboratively to design, build, and operate robots of varying size and abilities. The fun part comes when the school teams make their robots and take them to the regional and state competitions. If you've never been to a robotics tournament, it is intense, loud, and fun. This year, Desert Canyon Middle School's DC Volts robotics team put together an impressive series of accomplishments, culminating in taking part in the state first LEGO League State Championship at ASU last month, along with 40 or so other elementary and middle school teams from around Arizona. At the conclusion, the DC Volts, comprised of Haley Ahart, Eric Burchard, John David Cannon, Dax Jansen, Jude Larson, Isaiah Marescal, Braden Nelson, and Griffin Stalzer. There they all are. Smile. This team was recognized with the first place trophy for being the team that best exemplified first core values and philosophies of gracious professionalism and cooperation co-optition. Okay, that's cooperation and competition combined. Mr. Bloom, he shares with us that these students and this team display extraordinary enthusiasm and spirit. They recognize that they can accomplish more together than they can individually and show respect for each other and other teams at all times. That's impressive. Of course, that spirit has much to do with who is leading it, and that's Mr. Bloom, who was honored with the State First League Robotics Tournament's Coach Mentor Award for inspiring the Volts to succeed, both as a team and as individuals. Leadership and guidance at its finest, Mr. Bloom. Congratulations, DC Volts and Mr. Bloom. Please accept these SUSD challenge coins to mark all of your accomplishments. And let's hold those trophies high so everyone can see. There we go. Congratulations. We now turn to the world of performing arts to recognize two excelling high school musicians who you heard before tonight's meeting got started. I'm going to call our District Fine Arts Coordinator, Mrs. Michelle Irvin, to help me with that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sakos, Dr. Menzel, President Sanowski, and board members. It is my great honor to talk about these two gentlemen. As you heard them performing before the performance, wasn't that amazing? Before the thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit about that because these two gentlemen are from two different schools, Marco from Chaparral and Jake from Saguaro. They had never played together until tonight. I put the music on the stand for them. They read it, just chord changes and follow along together. And I think that's one of the amazing accomplishments with jazz. These two are the top in the entire state of Arizona. They went through 2 rounds of competition. One was recorded to make it to a second round, and then they sat there all day at Desert Mountain on January 14th and competed against all the second round entries to be selected into the top 2 jazz ensembles in the state. It really says something about when we talk about depth of knowledge. These students basically applied everything that they learned at that moment instantaneously and worked together and performed. I can say I'm so honored that we had 2 participants from SUSD in the state jazz ensembles. Absolutely amazing. And thank you to their amazing directors, Jennifer Moreau and Dylan Root. It's really quite fabulous. And I'd now like to pass the mic to Dr. Sakos, who has something to give to the 2 of you.
Congratulations, Jake and Marco, and thank you for providing such a wonderful musical transition in tonight's meeting. We hope you continue to hit high notes, every pun intended, with your music. And with that, Ms. Cerna will help me provide you with a challenge coin for your accomplishments. Next up, I'd like to invite Saguaro students Arohi Garputi, C.G. Ballard, and Ezekiel Felicino, and their principal, Ann Oxinger, to the stage. While they're walking up, I can tell you that Saguaro High School is proud each January to host an event connected with the City of Scottsdale's Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, the MLK Youth Voices event. The guest speaker at this year's 23rd annual event was Dr. Benjamin Chavez, a longtime leader in the nation's civil rights movement. The event also features student speakers from the Saguaro student body, and this year's speakers, Arohi, CJ, and Ezekiel, spoke from the heart about their experiences with cultural insensitivity, feeling marginalized, and not knowing where they fit in. It takes a special kind of courage to take any stage to share those kind of personal, painful experiences, especially with your own classmates. By celebrating these students tonight, we want to recognize them for their bravery, their resilience, and let them know we support them. At this time, you will be receiving challenge coins from SUSD.
Thank you, students. We are so grateful for your willingness to share your stories and to be leaders on your campuses. We're so proud of you. The outstanding students just recognized are what Scottsdale Unified is known for. Ambitious, curious, and dedicated learners who embrace the many opportunities we are able to provide and are inspired by outstanding teachers to excel in whatever fields interest them. I am so proud that all of you had the opportunity to meet them, although briefly, this evening. We're not done because we have a few more celebrations, and Dr. Sacco's still at the helm. I'll turn it back to you.
All right, one major celebration. Scottsdale Unified School District makes a conscious decision to have qualified, certified, trained nursing professionals on each of our school campuses. We've always known that that is a good idea, and over the past month, we have experienced 2 incidents where our staff had a huge impact on 2 lives. One, a student, one, a parent. First, I'd like to invite Kiva School 5th grade teacher, Alexandra Hawley, school nurse, Kelly Eckhauser, and principal Matt Gromack to the stage. And our amazing nurse from Anasazi, who's a school nurse and our lead nurse, Miss Renee Tosto. Alexandria was in the middle of a lesson one day last month when a student began choking on a piece of candy and ran up to her desk. She immediately sprang into action, directing her students to get another teacher as she began the Heimlich maneuver on the choking child. She was able to dislodge the candy after a few thrusts. Nurse Kelly quickly responded as well, checking to be sure the student's breathing was unobstructed and heart rate was normal. Matt, would you like to add anything? He says that the whole Kiva community is proud of him and thankful. Okay. We are so grateful for Alexandria and Kelly's quick thinking and the ability to stay calm in this stressful situation. We want to commend them for their actions with these SUSD challenge coins. Thank you. And staying on the topic of our health-saving measures, our final celebration, I would like to invite Cherokee, I'm already getting choked up, Nurse Will Graham, Health Assistant Bobby Treadwell, 3rd grade teachers John Aviantos, and Amber Lindsay, and Principal Walt Chantler to come up. And if you would like, I would like to invite Cherokee parents Alicia and Dr. Mike Fixler to the stage as well. Yeah, no, you're going to turn it over to you in a second. February is National Heart Month. While heart health is important year-round, particular attention is placed on it during the month of February. While it is a coincidence, I want to share with you that SUSD recently completed the installation of at least one AED, short for Automated External Defibrillator, on each campus. I'd like to turn the, yep, that's awesome. I'd like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Chandler to share with us his experience.
Thank you, Dr. Sakos. President Snowski, Vice President Werner, members of the board, Dr. Menzel, and Ms. Wagner, thank you for the opportunity this evening to celebrate members of my staff. I'm here today to share a really neat story with you that happened on the campus just a couple of weeks ago. We were conducting a parent-teacher conference. John Aviantos over here, if you can raise your hand, and Amber Lindsay, where we're sitting with a couple of parents talking about the child before school had even started that day. At one point in the conversation, one of the parents had a cardiac emergency, became unresponsive, and went down to the ground. Quickly, Amber and John dialed 911. They helped to clear the room, and the events from that point forward are a complete blur, but everything happened perfectly, with the end result being that the parent's life was saved. The 911 call was made from the classroom, and what's really important to note here is that if you do have a medical emergency on one of our campuses, dial from the school phone, because what happens is then you get a notification on the screen telling where the emergency occurred. So that was the first thing that happened correctly. The next thing that happened was our nurses happened to be there early that day. They saw the message up on the screen, and they knew right away where the medical emergency was. They had the right mindset to know to grab the AED before running to the emergency, and they literally sprinted across the campus. The staff then helped by keeping the children away from the medical emergency. They helped to direct the traffic. They helped by texting the community on the events that were unfolding that morning. And it was something else because everyone did their jobs perfectly. They kept cool, calm, and collected. And because of that, we saved a life. I'm so proud of how my staff reacted to this emergency, but I am most proud of my medical team, who were the true heroes in this situation. Nurses Bobby Treadwell, and Will Graham, they grabbed the AED that SUSD paid for, and they had to actually shock the parent 3 times and then provide CPR for several minutes before the emergency responders could arrive. Please help me to congratulate the 2 of them. And I want to thank SUSD for providing each school with an RN and AEDs. Money well spent, and you can't put a price tag on the life that was saved that morning. I'd also like to introduce you to Dr. Michael Fixler, who's here with me. He's the husband of Alicia Fixler, who's the parent that was saved that day, and she's in the crowd here with us this evening. Dr. Fixler has asked to say a few words at the mic.
Hi, everyone. Yes, and again, my name is Dr. Mike Fixler. My son Max is a 6th grader at Kokopah, and he's a graduate of Cherokee. My son Sammy is a 3rd grader at Cherokee, and over the years, we've grown to love Cherokee for the education that it's provided our children. But what happened the other day far exceeds what anyone could expect from their kid's school. I'm so happy that there are so many people here today for whatever one reason or another, but I'm just so glad that there's so many people here to hear this story because it's something that should be heard. On the morning of February 6th, while we were just sitting down for run-of-the-mill parent-teacher conference with our son. My wife, Alicia, she fell off her seat and her heart stopped. As I began CPR, the staff at Cherokee did exactly what needed to be done in a crisis such as this. Miss Lindsay, Mr. A, and Walt Chandler called 911 and simultaneously called the two angels that came in to save Alicia's life. And that was Will Graham and Bobby Treadwell. And I'd like a round of applause for them. Yeah. And it just so happens that both of the nurses at Cherokee, Will and Bobby, are certified EMTs. And I think that bears repeating. They're certified EMTs, which is absolutely unbelievable that we have anything like that at our school. You'll never appreciate the value of that until you need it. Will and Bobby went right to work and used the school's AED to bring her back. And there she is. And thank God for them, and thank God that the school had that device. And Walt and your amazing staff at Cherokee, you saved not just my wife, you saved our family. In Will and Bobby's honor, we will be donating an AED to a school that doesn't have one. And maybe one day it too will save a life. Thank you.
I'd also like to mention that Will and Bobby had a CPR class offered for my staff just a couple of weeks before this incident occurred. And now we've got a second one occurring, and we're going to also offer it for our community at large. So thank you both for caring so much, and thank you for saving a life.
Yep.
As I shared, Renee Tosto is not only the Anasazi school nurse, but she's also our school lead nurse. I'm going to let Renee Tosto say a few words, but what I want to say about Renee, as the lead nurse, she has been very insistent and persistent around making sure that our health centers are top-notch for our staff, for our students, and as evidenced, for our families when they're in need. Ms. Tosto.
Hello. I think a lot of what I was going to say, Mr. Chandler mentioned, but I'm here representing the nurses and just really want to express appreciation for Will and Bobby and their life-saving skills that they used at Cherokee, and the fact that their staff was so prepared and able to respond, and everything just fell into place. And then I want to express on behalf of the nurses the fact that SUSD has always had a nurse in each school, and the value is seen every single day. The stories that I hear from all the campuses, there's great value in it, and you're seeing it right here. So CPR training, if you're not CPR trained, now's your time. You know, there's AEDs everywhere, and it's good to know how to use it. So kudos to the Cherokee staff.
This is truly a harrowing and heroic tale. Thank you, Will, Bobby, Lindsay, and John, from the bottom of our hearts, for being at the right place at the right time. And so we're happy to share with you, and we are so happy, Ms. Fixler, that you are here with us tonight and that you are doing well. The challenge coins that these individuals on stage are receiving this evening actually have a heart on them. A very special challenge coin for again saving a life. Thank you.
Thank you to our Cherokee team and to Mrs. and Dr. Fixler for joining us this evening. We're so grateful that our Cherokee staff were able to help make this night possible, and happy to be able to make your acquaintance on this occasion. And we're wishing you the best for continued recovery, Mrs. Fixler, and thank you all for being here this evening. So I know our celebrations have been long this evening, but we do have one more, much at the resistance of the team that I'm going to ask to come to the stage, but I get to do the final one, and that is to recognize our amazing Scottsdale Unified School District's Communication Department. So I've known since joining SUSD that our communications professionals, now led by Christine Harrington, are among the finest K-12 education communicators in the state. I challenge them on a regular basis to find new and creative ways to share with the community at large the accomplishments of our students, teachers, staff, and schools, and the district's initiatives that deliver future-focused, world-class learning to SUSD students, and they always come through. Apparently, I'm not the only one who thinks highly of the communications team. Earlier this month, the Arizona School Public Relations Association, ASPRA, recognized our communications department for its development and execution of our ongoing Legacy of Success campaign that you see on district social media that highlights the many, many successful SUSD graduates who are making a difference in our community and world. If you've seen those Legacy of Success Facebook or Twitter posts, you know that's a result of the dedicated work of our team. They were also recognized for the design of last year's strategic plan publication and the creation of our monthly SUSD source blog and 3 photography awards. So I'd like to ask you to join me in congratulating our communications department, Art Director Victor Bobbitt, Digital Content Manager Lainey Triplett, Social Media Specialist Samantha Schnoes, Communication Manager Nancy Norman, and their fearless leader, Christine Harrington. And that concludes our celebrations.
Thank you, Dr. Menzel, and congratulations to all recipients this evening for their awards and accomplishments. At this time in our meeting, we usually have governing board reports. We will have that, but I would like to read the meeting decorum statement. I know it was posted earlier, but I'm going to read that to you, so please keep this in mind in the next couple sections of this meeting. Citizens attending and or participating in the Scottsdale Unified School District meetings, either in person, virtually, or telephonically, are required to observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to the members of the governing board and staff. Unauthorized remarks or demonstrations from members of the audience, yells, outbursts, and or disruptions are not permitted. Members of the public are not allowed to approach the stage at any time while the governing board meeting is in session without express permission from the governing board president. All of you that requested to speak did so electronically in our entryway before this meeting began, and that was officially at 6 o'clock. Because we want to hear everyone's voice, many of you came for a specific reason, and we really appreciate our community involvement in our school district. We are going to alter, monitor, and adjust our time period allotted for public comment and allow each speaker up to 1 minute to speak and share their thoughts with the governing board. I do note that the governing board cannot communicate back to you directly during this portion of the meeting, so if it seems weird that we're just sitting here, it's what we are supposed to do. According to state statute, we cannot reply. So we are going to go with governing board reports first. Colleagues, reports, please. Board member Dr. Hart-Wells.
Thank you, Board President Sanowski. So this past month, I've had the pleasure of attending the district spelling bee, and this poor speller wishes a heartfelt congratulations to all of our school's academic competitors on a job very well done. I also was able to join several of our students, teachers, and administrators in the Parada del Sol, and it was a lovely day, great weather, and lots of support shown by our community for our district. I've had several meetings with community leaders over the last month, and to me, those meetings often serve as a heartwarming reminder of the strong support that our district, our families, our students, and staff receive from our community, and we're grateful. I was also able to take in the first of one of the tournament games for the Desert Mountain Wolves, who handily beat Mesa and has continued in their state championship journey with an impressive game last Friday night. So we'll wish the Wolves much success. I also want to personally thank the Navajo Elementary School students who took the time to handwrite and in some cases include original artwork in their kind notes to the board to celebrate National School Board Month in January. Finally, I'd like to congratulate the Chaparral Film Club. Their fall project movie titled Lovesick was an official selection of the 2023 Arizona Student Film Festival. This is an annual competition that celebrates the next generation of Arizona filmmakers, and it seems like we have some Firebirds who are in that class. So congratulations to all of you. And just what a rich celebration section of the meeting. I'm glad all of you were here to celebrate with us, and want to congratulate everyone who achieved what they achieved. Is really impressive. I'm very, very proud of all of you, and really makes me proud to be a part of this district. And thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hartwells. Would like to go next. Vice President Werner.
So my learning community that I was assigned to was, or is, the Coronado Learning Community. And I have been able to visit every campus, so Hohokam, Yavapai, Tonalea, Pima, and Coronado. And it's really been an extraordinary experience to walk through the classrooms and see the students and what they're working on and meet the teachers and get to know the principals a bit. Each campus offers something unique and interesting, and it really is just amazing is the word that I always come back to from these experiences when I attend the schools. While I was at Coronado, I attended the ESP Awards, and it was extraordinary to see these incredible students be able to get the opportunity to be recognized and receive an award. And I really have to acknowledge Mrs. Palatucci for creating the program and creating an environment in the school where every student can succeed and be recognized and acknowledged. And honestly, the best part so far, and my 6 weeks of being on the board, is seeing the children's faces, walking through the schools, and all I see is endless possibilities looking back at me. Last week, I was a guest at the Scottsdale Parent Council along with Julie Sanowski, and it was great. Mrs. McClure did a great job moderating, and I was really grateful to have the opportunity to answer the audience's questions and the question that Mrs. McClure gave. And truly, this is just an honor to serve our students, our staff, our parents, and our entire Scottsdale Unified community.
Board Member Carney.
Okay, I'm going to make this short and sweet, but I was recently able to go tour Hohokam and Arcadia with the principals, and it was like I said, it's really great learning about their successes and their ideas for improving their school culture and campuses. And then I also was invited to Mountainside Middle School for the 8th grade assembly for Sold Out Foundation. So that was really great to see what that was all about and get to be with those kids at Mountainside. So thank you.
Thank you. I will go next. A lot has happened in our community in this past month, and I note that much of this has been the result of activity sparked by an excerpt of complex interview which took place between Dr. Menzel that he gave over 4 years ago. I note that as of noon today, I have received approximately 445 emails pertaining specifically to the opinion of value of our superintendent, Dr. Menzel. I also note that about 15% of those claims of dissatisfaction were based on referencing the media reports. 5 additional reports came from outside of Arizona, and about 380 clearly expressed satisfaction and confidence by the proven work of Dr. Menzel. Thank you all for your communications. I have read each and every one of your messages, and I apologize if you did not receive a personal response to your message. I'll share my thoughts on this current event throughout this report. As governing board members, we represent our entire community, and our words and our actions must be focused on supporting our education community generally and ultimately in SUSD. Our representation should be directed at improving, not dismantling, undermining, or belittling the efforts of our school district. I understand that at times we do not fully understand or appreciate the intentions of the words or interests of others, and that's okay. I do ask that our community members direct their energy of our school district and focus to support our SUSD. We can be, all of you, can be valuable pieces of our success. The aspects which merit our focused attention include the educational and extracurricular experiences and success of our students, as witnessed by many of the celebrations here tonight. Recently, I did have the privilege to engage in our community through many assorted ways. I enjoy this opportunity. These include watching our students participate in 2 different spelling bees, the district spelling bee and the regional spelling bee, which took place here last Friday. I was proud, P-R-O-U-D, proud of the conduct displayed by our students, their multifaceted support systems, their families, their teachers, their principals from their schools were even in the audience quietly cheering them on. And I recognize and appreciate the district faculty who organized and implemented these contests. I attended a very thought-provoking play at Desert Mountain recently, the same thought-provoking play performed by our Saguaro Theater Troupe over a year ago. It was evident that the story told through this play holds great significance to many of our students. I supported 2 of our high school students being interviewed by them for one of their advanced course assignments. And I had the honor to address the 37th class of the Scottsdale leadership at their education day. And that was a room full of adult leaders from our community. And the focus of the day, of course, was education and all the good stuff happening here in Scottsdale schools. Oh, I also had an opportunity to refresh my French language acquisition. I observed a French 3 class, a formative assessment performed solely in French language by our students and their teacher. A great example of excellent teaching and learning that takes place. Last week, I also had the privilege to have the opportunity to meet with many of our National Board Certified teachers at a panel discussion that they had in preparing them to be successful throughout this process. As Vice President Werner had mentioned, I was able to share information at the Scottsdale Parent Council gathering, and as usual, I have enjoyed meeting with many of our valuable community partners throughout the last month. As a governing board member, I am a fiduciary of our entire district. Our role as parents can help support our work, but the expanse of our district composition must guide our work. My role is not to judge whether I approve of the art a person creates or enjoys, what our families should look like, whether their chosen books pass my judgment as worthy literature, or to determine whether another person's perspective of the world matches my own. As a governing board, we must be focused on students and driven by facts and understand the rational decisions, that these rational decisions actually take time and thoughtful consideration. Choosing to function based on fear and anger will lead us to conflict, controversy, and crisis. I recognize we cannot eliminate fear and anger from the human psyche. but we can commit to govern ourselves as communities, as peoples, as families in ways which are not shaped by fear and anger. We need to be motivated by hope and possibility and guided by facts. Our student success is dependent on our decisions. It is clear to me that the employees and general community support Dr. Menzel. I support the success of Dr. Menzel. Our systemic achievement is dependent on the success of our superintendent. I recognize that we are in a fishbowl here in Scottsdale. Let's commit to focusing all our efforts on supporting the values of excellence, empathy, integrity, inclusion, trust, and unity. Anything other than this is counterintuitive to the well-being of our community. We will not discriminate against our families. Our students are the focus of our work, and facts must continue to drive that work. At this point, we will move into the public comment section of our business meeting. Names will be placed, 3 at a time will be placed up on the screen behind us here. And each of you will be given 1 minute. Usually we only have this for 30 minutes, this portion of our business meeting, as I stated earlier, but we have almost 60 individuals that have requested to address us this evening. So up first will be Jim Lane, followed by Nick Sethi and Laura Wiesoff. As a reminder, each speaker will have 1 minute, and the microphone will be turned off at the 1 minute mark. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Sinowski and the Governing Board for having us here today and able to comment. And of course, the comments are directed toward Dr. Menzel, as you've just have spoken toward. You know, I think that we're all on the same page philosophically when it involves children and young adults having equal opportunity and access to the best possible education, and one that gives them the best opportunity for success in life. It's not the equities conceptual ideas fostered by Dr. Menzel to help young people overcome life injuries and their ability to learn. It's the process. And Dr. Menzel has said many of the things that you're looking to try to avoid in his interview for some time, and it is disruptive, dismantling, and reconstructive, as he repeatedly refers to, on the basis of a survey that's based upon discriminating and...
Up next is Nick Sethi, followed by Laura Wiesoff and Zoa Daly.
Good evening. I am Nick Sethi, a junior at Saguaro High School. My words are not encouraged by anyone other than myself. Not often are students able to build positive change at a school district level, but the Student Advisory Board has been given this opportunity by Dr. Menzel and Dr. Sakos. It is within the Student Advisory Board that Dr. Menzel has opened the table for productive discussions of the situations that our schools face. A key subject that we have discussed is making sure that all students have access to the opportunity to explore post-secondary education options while attending SUSD schools. In this instance and various others, Dr. Menzel has listened to our input and has shown his genuine dedication to improving the SUSD experience for all students. The reflection on Dr. Menzel's long past remarks have opened opportunities for harmful rhetoric and a counterproductive cross-examination. To continue to do this would be just that, harmful and counterproductive. It is most important to focus on our many current successes in this district and continue to...
Laura, you guys can see. Laura Wiesoff is up.
Governing Board, as an SUSD parent, I support our teachers, Dr. Menzel, and our schools, and here's why. Over 50% of SUSD elementary schools scored in the top 10% of all public and charter schools in Arizona last year. Over 30% of our schools outperformed Great Hearts Archway Scottsdale, and over 50% of our schools outperformed Great Hearts Cicero, even though we have larger special education and higher needs populations. Our schools emphasize the whole child while providing a strong, well-rounded education for students with a diverse set of needs. Our schools hire only credentialed teachers, the vast majority of whom have their master's, and many are nationally board certified. Our class sizes are smaller. Our experienced teachers differentiate their lessons, and our schools have multiple academic tracks. Our students learn how to think, not what to think, and our students are cared for, they have fun, and they shine. Board members, I urge you to see and support all of our students, our talented teachers, our outstanding superintendent, and our beloved schools.
Up next is Zoe Daly, followed by Sam Campana.
Thank you. In the Student Advisory Board, with Dr. Menzel's help, we've had ongoing and productive discussions about making changes for the students of SUSD. This school district works so hard for the success of every student, creating an equitable environment where everyone is respected, treated with dignity, and has a sense of belonging, inclusion. Connecting across communities to advance educational opportunities for all, unity. Inclusion and unity are two of SUSD's 6 values, but values are empty without action. In any part of our society where exclusivity and division and inequality should live unchecked, the members in such a society should be uncomfortable. As a community leader, Dr. Menzel has formulated his words to be unpalatable. But so many people avoid this topic because it is unpalatable. I admire that, and our students need that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam Campana, followed by Lainey Langer. If the next speaker could be ready to go, that would be greatly appreciated. Up now is Sam Campana.
Sam had to leave.
Okay. Lainey's up, followed by Danielle, and then Lori Ryan.
My name is Lainey Langner. I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher and GSA teacher sponsor at Cocopah Middle School. In 2021, Dr. Menzel presented several pillars for SUSD. Tonight, I'm speaking to his message of inclusion. Private and charter schools are deliberately exclusionary in multiple ways, financially, academically, and in personal expression. By making inclusion a tenet in SUSD, Dr. Menzel has welcomed all families, students, and teachers, bringing us together to protect us regardless of race, financial situation, or personal differences. There's strength in being included. Dr. Menzel recognizes and respects that. It's no secret that there's a teacher shortage in this state and this district, and I'm sure the board considers teacher retention in their discussions. But if the board is seriously considering sacking the captain, you may find his loyal crew jumping ship at the next port. And truly, what is this district without her educators? The teachers of SUSD stand with and support Dr. Scott Menzel.
Daniel Gasparino, followed by Lori Ryan.
Previous Mayor Sam Campana had to leave, so she's asked me to read this. Members of the board, Dr. Menzel has distinguished himself being attentive, thoughtful, and a careful listener. Plus, he's a man of action. I've known every superintendent in Scottsdale for over 50 years, so I know. We are so fortunate to have Dr. Menzel. I made an appointment to meet with our new superintendent, Menzel, early on. I just wanted 5 minutes to say thank you when he willingly stepped up and spent his new political capital to resolve a particularly thorny issue when it wasn't even asked or required of him. It was just the right thing to do. That kind of courage is rare. I'm here as a grandmother to Pueblo Boys Connor Evan, a certified SUSD volunteer, frequent donor, and former mayor who has also felt the winds of whipped-up controversy. Please feel the genuine and heartfelt support from our greater community, Dr. Menzel. Thousands of Scottsdale moms and dads and grandparents are home tonight with their kids, confident that their children's most precious right, the right to...
Daniel Gasparino, Lori Ryan, Don Henninger.
We moved to Arizona during the height of COVID. We had a lot of pushback from people because Arizona schools weren't as good as Connecticut due to lack of funding. But we had done our research and knew that SUSD had great schools. As part of my research, I reached out directly to Ms. Waldron, our school's principal, to inquire about the enrollment process. She was responsive, kind, and helpful in informing me about Anasazi and SUSD. My interactions with her, along with the IB program, were the reasons we chose Anasazi and SUSD. Our children have thrived. One of my boys was put on an IEP for speech in a prompt, informed, and caring manner. I've seen their reading, math, as well as social and emotional abilities soar, and it's largely due to staff, teachers, and administration at Anasazi. The success of our school district determines the city's perception as well as economic success, including home values, which would plummet with a less successful school district. Superintendent Menzel has done an outstanding job in his leadership, as well as navigating all obstacles and keeping our children at the foremost spot of the district where they should be.
Lori Ryan, followed by Don Henninger.
Hello, my name is Lori Ryan. I'm a parent and a physician here in the community. I'm coming here as a community member because of notice of a letter that was recently written to the board on behalf of some of my elected officials, which included a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, giving the impression that Martin Luther King was colorblind. I found this offensive from the fact that we're cherry picking quotes from leaders that we were all meant to learn from, and I'm not familiar with this community. I'm really pretty jumpy about this. I'm so sorry. But Dr. Menzel, I guess my point is that for my children and my grandchildren to grow in a community, I'm looking for leaders that understand the nuance of economic, racial, cultural differences that will inform their growth and their development as world members. And I would expect nothing less. And I just felt this needed to be said. Thank you.
Don Henninger, Noriel Apps, Molly Pont-Brown.
President Cianeski, members of the governing board, my name is Don Henninger. I'm a 27-year resident of Scottsdale. My wife is a graduate of Arcadia High School. I'm not going to tell you what year. I'm also director of SCOT, the Scottsdale Coalition of Today and Tomorrow. We're a network of about 75 participants that represent community and business leaders, nonprofit, educators, and elected officials from across the city of Scottsdale. We've had the occasion to track Dr. Menzel's progress over the couple of years that he's been here. We've also had the chance to have him present to us so he can share his values and his strategies with us. And I'm here to tell you tonight that the SUSD is in good hands with Dr. Menzel. We support him here, and we certainly hope and encourage the governing board to do the same.
Noriel Apps, Molly Pont-Brown.
Okay. Hello, I'm Noriel Apps. I'm a student and senior at Saguaro High School. I'm here today supporting Dr. Menzel, who shows immense support for the students of our district, and I want to reciprocate this support. I'm a very involved student. I'm involved with Saguaro Math and Science Academy, the Dual Language Immersion Program, Student Government, NHS, Mentoring, International Club President, Scottsdale Sister Cities Junior Board, Choir, Fine Arts, and Athletics. As you can see, I'm in a lot, and I've seen Dr. Menzel at every single one of my events. He helps students and families feel supported and safe. We are lucky to have a leader who cares so much for everyone in our community. I'm also thrilled to see my elementary school and others being updated and rebuilt stronger than before. Thank you, Dr. Menzel.
Molly Pont-Brown and Emma Curley.
Greetings and thank you for having me. I've been an SUSD parent since 2008 and a teacher at Hopi Elementary School since 2015. I am here to take a stand against the effort to drag our district into the culture wars through political maneuvering, divisive rhetoric, and a smear campaign against our capable and compassionate superintendent. Regardless of our political preferences, our feelings about COVID policies of the past, or our other affiliations, I hope we can all agree that it is not culture wars, but SUSD's culture that will positively impact our students. The SUSD culture I know from our mission and vision, and that I witness and practice daily on our campuses, is a culture that promotes trust, inclusion, unity, empathy, integrity, and excellence. It is a culture that focuses on teaching and learning and prioritizes a sense of belonging for every student. Let's reject culture wars for our district and instead promote SUSD culture. Our kids are watching. Thank you.
Emma Curley, followed by Katie Conway.
Hello, my name is Emma Curley. I am a junior at Chaparral High School and a member of the SUSD Student Advisory Board. I have had the opportunity to get to know Dr. Menzel and our monthly meetings, and I'm here tonight to offer my support to him and his leadership. Dr. Menzel attends these meetings to listen to our perspectives and has acted quickly to implement our ideas for improvement. I also had the opportunity to sit with Dr. Menzel at the Martin Luther King celebration dinner. He not only remembered my name, but our conversation made me feel like he was genuinely interested in me as a person. In that setting, he could have easily focused on the adults in the room. I thank you, Dr. Menzel, for your leadership and all you do to make SUSD a better place.
Emma Curley, followed by Katie Conway. That was just Emma, wasn't it? Yeah. So we're on to Katie. Katie Conway. That's all right.
I'm Kate Conway. My daughter's a DM senior, and I'm a former SUSD teacher. During the 2 years that I taught in SUSD, my students included refugees from various countries, students with same-sex parents, students from 5 of the 7 continents, students who identify now as non-binary, and students who identify as every racial subtype. Dr. Menzel's comments indicating nuanced understanding of our racial history show that he's exactly the type of superintendent that we need at SUSD. A review of dozens of studies in diversity conducted by the Century Foundation found that having different and divergent perspectives can create positive learning outcomes. The outcomes can have a benefit that reflect well beyond students' graduations and can impact their lives going forward. Diversity improves cognitive thinking skills and critical thinking, as noted by an article in Scientific American. Exposure to diversity alters the way individuals think by promoting creativity and innovation, as well as decision-making and problem-solving skills. Exposure to diversity helps students enter adulthood. 96% of major employers, according to the...
Okay, thank you. We are up to Missy Fogel, followed by Jennifer Flory, and then Eric Kurland.
Hi, my name is Missy Fogel, and I'm a parent of 4 kids in SUSD schools. I'm here to ask you tonight to create a social media policy banning hate speech on all SUSD social media accounts that allow public comment. SUSD's Facebook page currently calls for civility only, and we receive racism and anti-Semitism instead. What message is SUSD sending to our students, to our community, by permitting hate speech? Do we really want to model that it's easier to allow hate speech than to speak out against it? While Meta does a terrible job with enforcement, they do an excellent job defining hate speech in their Transparency Center. Many of our neighboring public school districts already have policies like this in place. World-class and future-focused is our message to the world. However, as long as racist and anti-Semitic public comments are allowed on SUSD social media posts, my non-white Jewish children, their peers, and our community as a whole are receiving a
Missy Fogel, Jennifer Flory, Eric Kurland, and then Teresa Ann Harrison.
All right. Tonight, I should be helping my son get ready for his cross-country meet, or watching my daughter practice for a performance on Friday, or planning the 5th grade Mamas in Middle School event I'm hosting, but instead I'm here. I'm here because misinformation techniques were used to dupe some of our community members into calling for the resignation of our amazing superintendent, Dr. Scott Menzel. This is not okay. We are better than this, Scottsdale. Over the past 10 years, I've worked closely with 14 different superintendents. I've seen a broad range of leadership styles. Dr. Menzel's good. He's really, really, really good. We cannot lose him. He brings great energy, intellectual curiosity, collaboration, partnerships, dedication, and willingness to discuss. I read the interview and I read the legislator's response. Calling for his resignation is ridiculous. Scottsdale, we need to do better.
Eric Kurland, Teresa Ann Harrison, Kevin Maxwell.
And yeah, I support Dr. Menzel, but I want everybody to kind of take a look at the Arizona Republic over the last few days. I started on Sunday reading an opinion piece by John Gabriel, who I'd say is right of me, probably right of center, and he created some alarm in me that I agreed with him that kids are having a really tough time right now. And then today I saw the data from the CDC about students who are thinking about suicide, who are actually trying to commit suicide. And I look at all of us as parents, and I want you to be cautious of your words. Be careful when we start talking about social emotional learning and people demonizing it. We have to reach these kids. People are going to complain that we're not getting test scores high enough, but I implore you, you have to go through the head. You have to go through the heart to get to the head. And dead children do not learn very well. So please be mindful of yourself and read those two things in the Republic.
Teresa Ann Harrison, Kevin Maxwell, Samantha Oliver.
The American College of Physicians has long held that hate crimes, prejudice, discrimination, harassment, and violence against any person based on race, ethnicity, religion, gender, gender identity, sex, sexual orientation, or country of origin is a public health issue. In a world where there is ample research showcasing how extremely bigotry impacts marginalized youth, there has yet to be any supportive measures put in place for them. School is a legal requirement that adolescents do not get much of a say in. School is supposed to be a safe space for learning and growth. For many marginalized children, however, this is not the case. Our students do not feel safe at school due to the bigotry they face and the lack of support systems for them. How can we expect them to grow into fully functional adults if we are not giving them the support or space to do so? Everyone deserves the freedom to learn, and giving marginalized children undivided support is the only way to achieve that. Thank you.
Kevin Maxwell, Samantha Oliver, Charity Reckla.
Three-term Scottsdale City Council member and longtime community advocate Linda Milhaven could not be here tonight, so she asked me to read these comments on her behalf from Linda Milhaven. Scott Menzel is exactly the kind of man we need as superintendent of Scottsdale Unified School District. He challenges us to lean into the discomfort of change and not just accept change as face value. He describes the process of change as dismantle, disrupt, and then create something that's socially just and more equitable. Dr. Menzel acknowledges the role of community in defining the values that help to shape change. In short, communities that decide what kind of schools they want. He cautions that if you dismantle the whole thing, don't want unintended consequences that harm children in the processes. So we need to be thoughtful and clear about what the path is. These are the words of a thoughtful and purposeful leader. One of my favorite quotes is, when we know better, we do better. If we heed Dr. Menzel's advice, lean into our discomfort to learn, understand, and create meaningful change.
Your time is up. Samantha Oliver, Charity Reckla, Stephen Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Oliver. As the mother of a deaf child, I fought to keep our schools open during the worst of the pandemic. I was new to the district then, and my son was just starting kindergarten. He could not learn via a computer screen. Dr. Menzel did everything in his power to keep our schools open and support the needs of every student. He listened to all sides, analyzed data, and put careful thought behind every recommendation and decision he made. He led SUSD with steady hands and focus. Actions speak louder than slogans, memes, and quotes from interviews from years ago. I support Dr. Menzel because he truly supports our students and schools. Thank you.
Charity Reckla, Stephen Jackson, Kim McClure.
Good evening. I'm a proud parent of an Echo Canyon student. I'm also a proud art teacher at Ingleside Middle School since 2015. I'm also the middle school content lead for visual arts. I wanted to bring with me today some of my student artwork, 8th grade artwork, that they did a weaving project, and I wanted to share this with you because after learning about weaving and basket making from Native American tribes across Arizona, my students were really excited about this project. And the reason why they can do these things, these kinds of projects, is because we have a very rich community in fine arts, and thank you SUSD and Dr. Menzel for paving a way for a rich fine arts program across our district, and that leads to a world-class education. So thank you so much.
Stephen Jackson, Kim McClure, Teresa Ann Harrison.
Good evening. My daughter's best friend killed herself between 8th grade and freshman year. 3 weeks ago, another person from a previous school hung himself after he was bullied at school. She recently attended Unitown and called it one of the most positive and effective experiences in her lifetime. What Dr. Menzel has been saying and the amount of inclusivity and empathy that his words indicate is a positive influence on our society and in our community. And for people like my daughter who don't want to see their friends being hurt, it helps her. But for her friends, it helps to show them that their community actually cares. Inclusion matters, and that's why I support Dr. Menzel.
Kim McClure, Teresa Ann Harrison.
Good evening, Board President Sanowski, Vice President Werner, Governing Board, Dr. Menzel, Ms. Wagner. I'm addressing you tonight in my role as President of Scottsdale Parent Council. SBC brings parents from all 5 learning communities together with SUSD administration to foster collaboration that benefits all students attending SUSD. There is much discussion in the news, the community, and on the dais about parents and the importance of their role in their child's education. This is just one of the reasons why, on behalf of SBC's Executive Board, we would like to invite you, members of the Governing Board, as well as cabinet members, to attend the SPC meetings that happen each month at the Mojave District Annex. We also hope you will attend because not only are these meetings another opportunity for you to experience firsthand some of the amazing things happening in this district, they are a chance for you to connect directly with parents. The next meeting is on Wednesday, March 22nd at 9 a.m. We will learn about the SRO program and the role of SUSD's crisis canines in supporting safety and student learning. Thank you for your time.
Up next is Mike Norton, followed by Susan Winder, and then Patricia.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I had a speech written that was 60 seconds long. I listened to former Mayor Lane speak. I threw it away. 5 years ago last month, Mayor Lane stood before the city and told the city in his State of the City address that the single greatest superintendent who had ever served this district was Angela Denise Birdwell. Those were his words. He said that while he was standing next to Pam Kirby, who helped 2 of our board members get elected. The next week, we met with John Creekart and convinced him to come back to this district and help save it. We had a plan when the week of February 14th, 2018, 1,000 of us stood out here on the street and demanded that Angela Denise Birdwell be removed from office. That was good reason to remove a superintendent, and we had a plan for the future. Today, I read an email in which you were...
All right, moving on to Susan Winder, followed by Patricia, and then Rizel Longbecker.
I am a grandparent in the district, a retired teacher, counselor, and administrator. At the last school board meeting, Dr. Menzel, you made the statement referring to the feedback being sent to the board members in their email. It was an attempt to dismantle and disrupt the direction SUSD school district was heading. This was a defensive comment to acknowledge and put down the opinions of the taxpayers and parents in the district, those who pay your salary and elect the school board, some of who believe in your woke ideology. You have stated that white people need to feel really, really uncomfortable because they perpetuate a system that ignores the realities in front of them and live in a mythological reality. You have alluded that those who have money are the problem. By creating the confidential SUSD Gender Support Plan, you have violated Bill I-601, entitled Parents' Rights Protected, and I-602, entitled Parents' Bill of Rights. The taxpayers and parents have sent you a clear message with the last results of the election for school board. It is time to step down or look for a job in a system that wants your woke ideology. I would say that as well for the board members who allow this ideology.
Patricia, followed by Rizel, and then Sherry.
Good evening, Governing Board. The governor's twin sister, who heads the Scottsdale Education Association and a big law firm, have pressured teachers, staff, and a few parents here who support Dr. Menzel's controversial social equity and justice agenda through using mass mail. He's desperate and trying to cling to power with these planted seeds. If any of you know history, then you recognize Dr. Menzel's predictable playbook. Don't worry, as we all know his next play. He shifts blames to the accusers while making himself the victim. Watch his associates do it today. I wonder if the SUSD attorney is aware of his top employees sending snail mail, intimidating letters to dissenters to silence them as he did me. The letter calls me a liar and uses misogynistic language against me. Why snail mail? So it's not on record. It takes 3 school board members to free our students from his iron.
Rizel Longbecker, followed by Sherry Sapir.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon. I'm coming to talk about the ACS scores. Because in the last meeting, one of the teachers said that she didn't agree with the scores being down. So what I did was I looked for the AC merit test and SAM2, but the data wasn't completely available. So I went for the tests. They are the perfect test to see if our high schoolers are ready to go for college. I check every single one inside here, okay? I did my homework. So our score for the ACAT is 1,159, with only 13% of our students proficient. Our score for the SAT is only 18.4 over 36, so that's not even 50%. So if you are telling me that our student...
Shirley Sapir, followed by Mike Bengert, and then Mary Gaudio. Sherry Sapir is supposed to be up.
She just spoke. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. So there's a lot of talk about inclusion today, but some of us parents at SUSD don't feel very included when we find out about a confidential SUSD gender support plan that is circulating between teachers. The purpose of this document is to create shared understanding about the ways in which the student's authentic gender will be accounted for. The parent-guardian involvement, though, says guardian aware of student's gender status, yes or no, and the level of support. To me, it seems that SUSD is trying to hide something from parents, and I would really like to see some investigation from this board and letting us parents know how many children do you have in this support plan right now, who wrote it, who approved it, where is it being distributed? This is the kind of things that we're coming against. It's not about Menzel being a nice person and intellect. We know that. This is all good. The problem is that when you're talking about inclusiveness, we, the parents, need to be part of everything that's happening in this school.
Mike Bengert, followed by Mary Gaudio, and then Allison Coutinho.
Dr. Menzel, in your interview published in 2019, you said the hardest place to do this work, referring to dismantling and disrupting the system, is in a high-performing affluent districts. I will be very careful how I frame something depending on the audience. Given your statement, how can we trust and rely on what you say? Young children are highly impressionable and susceptible to manipulation, coercion, and exploitation by trusted adults. You are actively implementing a plan to spread gender and sexual identity misinformation, all purposely done without parental notification, inclusion, or consent. You can identify however you want, but I don't have to participate in your delusion, and don't teach it to our children. At the last board meeting, you characterized people who disagreed with your views as seeking to tear apart our school community. It's time for you and the board to start living up to the district values to demonstrate honesty, transparency, and reliability where everyone is respected.
Mary Gaudio, Allison Coutinho, and then Janet Larkin.
Good evening, governing board members. My name is Mary Gaudio. I stand before you as a proud SUSD community member. 28 of our 30 schools have earned an A or B letter grade. We have 5 A+ schools of excellence and 2 high schools ranked in the top 10 in the state. Our students outperform their peers across the county and the state in academics, athletics, fine arts, and more. Under Dr. Menzel's leadership, our district administrators, teachers, and staff have performed at the highest level and supported significant student achievements, as we've heard here tonight. And yet, we're witnessing an effort to oust him. What company would fire a CEO with this record of achievement? None. This isn't about performance, it's about politics. Targeting teachers and district leadership based on ideology is harmful to our students and community at large. I ask that you focus on providing the
Allison Coltinia, Janet Larkin, Kim Miller.
Good evening, SUS Governing Board and Dr. Menzel. I'd like to read a quick note from an interview he did recently, and it's our history books don't teach history in a way that causes us to look honestly at what really happened. It is, and pardon the pun, whitewashed history that makes white people look good all the time. No child should be made to feel less than another due to the color of their skin. Dr. Menzel's statements are offensive to me. The indoctrination and radical rhetoric is offensive and unproductive. The job of SUSD is to educate the entire community, not disrupt, dismantle, or reconstruct. Dr. Menzel sets the tone for the district. Educational excellence should be the priority. I respectfully ask that Dr. Menzel stop his political and personal ideologies and take them out of the district's curriculum. Thank you.
Janet Larkin, Kim Miller, Jill Dunnican.
My name is Janet Larkin. I've been in Scottsdale for 51 years. I taught in the school district during Dr. Creekard's era, respected him and all that was going on while I was there. I support you, Dr. Menzel. I support the board for coming together, being inclusive. I loved what the President Cianowski had to say, and many, many of the young people here. I can't talk as quickly as all of them, and I am wearily fading at this time of night. Thank you.
Kim Miller, Jill Dunnican, Rich Hofecker.
Hi, I'm Kim Miller. I'm a mother of 5, and I live in the district. I think that the purpose of tonight really is the definition of public education. Is it academics? I kind of thought it was. Is it success and setting kids up for their future? The interview that came out recently, a few years ago by Dr. Menzel really focuses on his values. He states out his philosophy and his stated purpose, and most of it focuses on race being a central aspect to someone's identity, and it sets people up as victims. The district spokeswoman actually said that his words were taken out of context and that they don't reflect his beliefs, but that is hard to understand when I know of a mom who he recently called into his office and lectured her about her racism and gave her a book of white fragility. So clearly, Dr. Menzel sees his job as political and social division and creating a victimhood mentality. I love these stickers of freedom to learn, but victimhood is not freedom to learn.
Jill Dunnican, Rich Hofecker, Elijah Watson.
Dr. Menzel's supporters cry freedom to learn, but children are not learning when 5-year-olds are being taught that they can choose their gender. Children are not free when their ability to achieve or be problematic is predetermined by Dr. Menzel's based on the child's skin color. There is no freedom for parents when SUSD secretly allows teenage boys who claim they are girls to sleep in their daughter's overnight camp cabin. Children do not learn when radical sex theories from debunked sources are secretly taught without parent consent. Families are not free when teachers send pronoun surveys that ask students if they should hide the pronouns from parents. Scott Menzel's supporters will tell you none of this is happening, but we parents have the receipts. As a parent, I'm here to say enough. It's time for our governing board to address these concerns that Scott Menzel has ignored. We must return focus to academic excellence.
Rich Hoffaker, Elijah Watson.
Meritocracy is a lie. Those are Scott Menzel's words. Now consider SUSD's value of excellence, which states, "We nurture the growth-minded culture of high expectations, persistence, and self-discipline." How can the district achieve excellence how can the district achieve excellence if the leader believes that meritocracy is a lie? How can we ask children to put on the hard work to achieve academic excellence if it does not matter anyway? What a sad message of disempowerment. I've heard from some that the comments were taken out of context, but I'm not sure how those statements could be taken out of context. And further, I've not heard any clarification. Members of the board, we must work to empower our students at SUSD, and this starts with removing Scott Menzel.
Elijah Watson, Katrina Pensabany, Van Labari.
My name is Elijah Watson. I am a public education advocate, and unlike Shiri Sapir and those against equity in our public schools, I am here in support of Dr. Menzel. Though I am not a member of the Scottsdale Unified family, it is very clear that these attacks against Dr. Menzel for his previous comments have been advocated against mainly by the people who have time and time again attempted to alienate our students and schools against their communities. From disgusting bathroom bans to supporting funding limitations, Senator Kavanaugh, among others, do not have the best interests of Scottsdale's public schools in mind when crafting bills down at the legislature and when representing this district, especially when these officials are calling for Dr. Menzel's immediate resignation. Dr. Menzel, on behalf of a majority of the people in this auditorium, you should not feel any pressure to resign. The community is evidently behind you. Thank you.
Katrina Pensabany, Van Larrabee, Ted Torres.
Children who attend Anasazi Elementary School. My son is enrolled in 3rd grade. His teacher, Mrs. Albrizi, is incredibly intelligent, inclusive, and principled. My daughter is enrolled in 1st grade with the most patient, empathetic, and kind teacher, Mrs. Deneen. Both of my children have attended Anasazi since the beginning of their primary education. I am so grateful to each teacher they have had while attending Anasazi. My children feel safe, secure, supported, inspired, and loved at Anasazi. It's all thanks to the entire staff and administration that they truly put their students first. Our staff and administrators are unmatched in their dedication to the students and community. Supporting and encouraging our teachers, staff, administration, and school district is directly correlated to the success of our children and the culture of our community as a whole. One more thing. Some people use the word woke as an insult, but it's mostly because they don't understand and can't pronounce empathetic, educated, and enlightened.
Van Larrabee, Ted Torres, Dawn Shim.
Howdy, y'all. Dr. Menzel, if you had said black people should feel uncomfortable for what they've done, that would be labeled racist. If you had said Asians should feel uncomfortable for what they've done, that would be labeled racist. If you had said Hispanics should feel uncomfortable for the actions they've taken, that would be labeled racist. Yet for some reason, when you say white people should feel uncomfortable for their actions based on the color of their skin, that's not racist. To some people, that's social justice. Consider your words, because while you're fixated on race, real problems are getting worse for students. After years of abuse, from lockdowns, social distancing, and insane masking policies in this district, they are in desperate need of help. Suicide, depression, obesity, abuse are all going up. As the adults in this room, it's your job, regardless of our differences, to strengthen students and not denigrate them and divide them by race. This is what I ask of you tonight.
Ted Torres, Dawn Shim, Hayden Nguyen.
Good evening, Governing Board of the Scottsdale Unified School District and Dr. Menzel. My wife and I are 42-year residents of Scottsdale. We would like to request the immediate termination and removal of Dr. Menzel from his superintendent duties. Based on the public information provided in recent months and the commentary from many of those that have assembled this evening, the individual is divisive and racist, and based on the prior commentary, again, the statement regarding the book White Fragility and comments made to disrupt, dismantle, and reconstruct our educational system based on equity as opposed to equality is completely unacceptable. There is a main difference between equity versus equality. Equality is a great thing for everybody. Equity is not meritocracy. We saw so many wonderful students here this evening being awarded excellent awards for their own individual efforts. They didn't do it because of the color of their skin. They did it because of how great they are and how hard they work their asses off.
Next speaker, please. I believe it's Ted Torres. What? Oh, that was Ted. Okay. Dawn Shim, followed by Hayden Nguyen.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Shim. I am 17 and I'm a junior in the Chandler region. I am an advocate for minority and queer youth in the East Valley with a student group called Support Equality Arizona Schools. I was asked to attend this meeting in support sorry, my phone just logged out, in support of policies, people, and boards that affirm inclusive and accepting policies. Although I am not a student of this district, what I have heard from this community, especially today, only emphasizes Dr. Menzel's role as an invaluable educator. He encompasses the thoughtfulness, judgment, and transparency an educator should have. We have all heard about his passion for education and each and every student in this district. These unreasonable calls against Dr. Menzel reflect a concerning turn in our school boards across the state. As a student in Arizona, the policies in school board ought to go beyond the petty and often violent rhetoric expressed in our government. School board should be the intermediary that keeps kids, especially the most vulnerable, minority and LGBTQ youth, safe. What we should be discussing is how we keep these
Hayden Nguyen, followed by Alice Stombaugh.
Hi, my name is Hayden Nguyen. I'm 17 and I'm a senior in the Gilbert area. Even as a student outside of this district, Dr. Menzel's commitment to inclusive and comprehensive education echoes with the support of this community. I wanted to say to Dr. Menzel that he has the full backing of the parents, the students, and the teachers who actually know what's going on within our schools. We know that there is a mental health crisis within our schools, and the root of these issues, especially when it comes to LGBTQ students, is with inclusivity. We know that 1 in 5 trans youth attempted suicide last year. We know that the majority of LGBTQ kids have suicidal thoughts and have attempted suicide. This is a huge problem in our students. It's a problem with all of our kids, non-LGBTQ and LGBTQ. It's a problem with all of every kid within a certain minority group or who have faced racism, who have faced bigotry. And I want to say on behalf of all of those students, on behalf of the students of this district and students across Arizona, that Dr. Menzel has our full support for his inclusion.
Alice Stombaugh, followed by Valerie Ramos.
Good evening. I would like to say that I wholeheartedly support Dr. Menzel, and I'm going to talk about a different topic. It's an overlapping issue that I fear may rise again, and that is that of banning books. Book banning or banning topics related to diversity is a dangerous form of manipulation typically seen in autocratic and thug-based societies that operate out of fear. Again, being youth-centered, we all understand that no one group can be so enlightened that they know all about what others should be reading. Books bring readers a diverse world of ideas, people, and places that exist in the real world, and our children will meet them and bump up against them. So covering our ears and going la 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 is not the answer to feelings of discomfort. We all want to set up our kids for success, and people learn to live in peace by confronting their discomforts, by becoming curious about others, and trusting that they can do that and still be who they are. Books offer a perfect entry point for such discovery. So I hope that we don't have diversity censorship in our schools. Thank you.
Valerie Ramos, Wally Graham, Michael Lair. Is Valerie here? Ramos? Okay, we will go on to Wally Graham, followed by Michael Lair.
Good evening. My name is Wally Graham. I'm a member of the Arcadia Community Education Complex. I'm a community member in Arcadia, but I'm also a SUSD Bond Oversight Committee member. I'm sad to be here tonight because of the passing of Dr. Creekard, an outstanding leader who has helped stabilize our school district when the district was in the midst of board turmoil and lacking administrative leadership. Dr. Creekard will be missed. However, Dr. Menzel has come aboard and kept our district stable. He keeps moving it positively ahead. I support Dr. Menzel. I hope you all will support him too. Thank you.
Michael Ayer, Ben Acker, Jay Lassen.
Good evening. I'm a parent of 3 SUSD students, 2nd to 8th grade. And frankly, I'm exhausted, and not because my kids are exhausting, but because of this political outrage that has consumed our society, that we're in a zero-sum society where it's one or the other. That's not how we're supposed to be working. It's not right. It's not good for our students. I understand that not everybody has the same viewpoints as Dr. Menzel, but if we just take a second and step back from our outrage, driven by fake and utter ridiculous journalism that does not even get to the facts, we can actually maybe think about whether or not he has a good point or not. I support you, Dr. Menzel.
Ben Acker.
Recently, a young trans girl named Brianna Gay was murdered in the UK. She was 16. She was ostracized from her home after realizing she was a woman, ultimately found a community with others like herself, queer outcasts running from the culture war being waged on her. The lack of education and integration of queer living into the school system is what allows and encourages actions such as the heinous murder of Brianna to be carried out. If you wish to defend children, then you defend all of them. Permit them to live and love as they must. Do not cage them in the visibly decaying order built upon prejudice and exploitation. There is blood on your binary. You need not wash your hands if no more blood is spilled. If you wish for us to be safe, let us live and let us love. Let us move beyond shame and into the fertile fields of joy, blossoming and standing strong. Hate is nothing but an Ouroboros and a plunge into self-destruction. Dr. Menez, I highly support your efforts and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss this.
Jay Lassen, then Ann Rowell, Justin Owen.
Hi, good evening. That's Jill Lassen. I'm just here because I just want to say that I appreciate the direction that our district is heading and all of Dr. Menzel's hard work. And then in addition, I wanted to sing the praises of the experience that my child and our family has had for the past 5 years at Anasazi under the amazing leadership of Principal Waldron and all the devoted teachers and staff that genuinely love my child. They are a large part of why my child has become the incredible human that they are. And we're so proud of everyone at Anasazi and our community for receiving the illustrious IB certification. And lastly, I just want to say, let's not forget about the landmark anti-discrimination ordinance, which was passed in Scottsdale in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Ann Rowell, Justin Owen, Kristen Parrish.
Hello. Thank you to the board for listening to your community. Our family, friends, and extended community appreciates and supports Dr. Menzel, and we ask you, the board, to please unite and focus your valuable time on improving the learning and emotional environment for all our children, our school libraries, our incredible teachers, and school staff. Please make 2023 the year we focus not on political differences, but make a real difference for our kids. We support you, Dr. Menzel, and the board. Thank you.
Justin Owen, Kristen Parrish.
Good evening. I am the director of the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy, a Scottsdale-based education nonprofit that has partnered with SUSD for over 30 years, and tonight I'm here to talk about outcomes. As the past couple of years have transformed specifically our partnership because of Dr. Menzel, at Dr. Menzel's direction, our place-based and in-classroom education programs are teaching elementary school students about the desert that they live in, not just the tablet that they live on. Our Teach the Teacher program is training middle school teachers how to teach local place-based science curriculum to their students outside in the natural desert. And our new high school program is giving hundreds of high school students the opportunity to conduct scientific research on campus, removing many of the barriers that they currently face. In total, the Conservancy is serving thousands of SUSD students, and that is only possible because of Dr. Menzel. Thank you for your work and partnering with us, Dr. Menzel.
And our last speaker this evening is Kristen Parrish.
Okay, I'm the last one. Thank you. So, my name's Kristen Parrish. My kids are students at Saguaro High School and Pueblo Elementary School. I myself am a professor in the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering at ASU. I'm thrilled that Dr. Menzel is our superintendent, but that's probably beside the point. I encourage the board to think seriously about the negative impacts of allowing themselves to be swayed by our elected officials, who I'll note have yet to do their sworn duty and approve the aggregate expenditure limit. This type of turmoil and unrest will make the SUSD superintendent position less attractive than it has been before. The board should seriously consider that if they terminate Dr. Menzel, we may not attract a high-quality candidate. Who would want to come here and know that as our state legislators change, their jobs may also be in jeopardy? I'll close by saying that as a scholar of diversity, equity, and inclusion who has published more than 10 papers on this topic, the scholarship supports Dr. Menzel's positions. Equity, by the way, is allowing people to have equal outcomes. Equality is giving them the same resources. Thank you.
Okay. That concludes our public comment portion of our business meeting tonight, and we will move on to superintendent comments. Dr. Menzel.
Thank you, President Stanowski, members of the governing board, and for the members of the audience who are here. I want to start by thanking everyone who took time to participate in our celebrations, took time to speak during call to the public, who came time to express your opinion, whether it was for or against or somewhere in between. It's a reflection of the importance of our work in providing world-class, future-focused learning for our students. So thank you for being here this evening. I just have a few comments to move through, and then I do want to say a few words about former Superintendent Dr. Creekard. Next week is officially Public School Week across the nation, and I think you know that I am an unapologetic champion for public education. We will continue to celebrate the amazing work at our 29 campuses and Scottsdale Online, not only during this week, but especially during this week with the hashtag #HereForTheKids. So please watch for the social media and please like and retweet. Earlier, Dr. Hartwell's mentioned the Parada del Sol. I just want to note that the combined Chaparral and Cocoa Paw marching bands were named the Parada's best band. Oh, nice. And Laguna received the award for parade entry with the most spirit. So congratulations to the Chaparral, Cocoa Paw marching bands and Laguna for those recognitions. Also, high school athletics, winter sports are winding down, and I'm happy to report that SUSD student athletes are still in the mix for some state trophies. When this was written, Saguaro was playing, but now I'm happy to report that Saguaro will be in the championship game because they won tonight 4-1 on the Coronado field. So if your schedule permits, they're playing 7 o'clock on Friday night at Glendale High School for the state championship. Tomorrow afternoon, right here at Coronado High School, the number 2 Chaparral girls soccer team will be playing number 6 Catalina Foothills. The 5A state championship game will be on Saturday at 11:30 at Dobson High School in Mesa. And we do wish our Lady Firebirds good luck in tomorrow's competition. In basketball, the Saguaro girls team is on the road tonight to play number 2 Mesquite. I have not received any updates on that. And in the Open State Championship play, the number 13 Desert Mountain Boys basketball team is in the semifinals Friday night at Highland against number 1 Perry. So to all of our student teams that are still participating, let's go SUSD. And I also want to note that there's good news from the state wrestling tournament that ended on Saturday. 2 Desert Mountain wrestlers, sophomore R.J. Robinson and senior Trenton Wickel, walked away with state titles in their respective weight classes. So we want to congratulate them on their state championships as well. Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And I think that characterizes Dr. Creekard and his deep commitment over a career of service to students, not only in Scottsdale Unified, but particularly in Scottsdale Unified. I had the opportunity to have lunch with Dr. Creekard on January 31st. From the time of my selection as superintendent until just a few weeks ago, Dr. Creekard served as a mentor, colleague, and friend. As many of you know, he spent the vast majority of his professional career right here in Scottsdale. First as an assistant principal at Chaparral beginning in 1979, and then in a variety of roles, including assistant superintendent, Mountainside Middle School principal, where he opened that building 30 years ago, Chaparral principal before he left to go to PV, serving 1 year as assistant superintendent there, and then a number as superintendent before his first retirement. Following the termination of Denise Birdwell, Dr. Creekard came out of retirement again after other stints of coming out of retirement to serve as interim superintendent, and then he agreed to stay on for another year to help stabilize this district. He did it not because he had to, he did it because he cared deeply about the students, the staff, and the community that is Scottsdale. His deep love of this district, his knowledge of the staff and community, his commitment to students provided the recipe needed to steady the waters after such a tumultuous period of time. His steady hand from 2018 through June 30, 2020 were absolutely essential. His clear and consistent communication with me during the transition period from March to June, and his availability after I started meant the world to me. My heart goes out to Janie and the entire Creekard family during this time of loss, but I know for certain that his legacy will live on through the countless lives that he impacted through a distinguished career.
We are going to take a very brief break at this time. We will come back here in 5 minutes. The time is 8:23, and we reconvene our regular governing board meeting. We are moving into the information and discussion item of our meeting, and we will begin with 7A, Career and Technical Education Month, CTE update.
So we're going to invite Amy Downs, who's our Director of College and Career, to the podium. And while she's coming up, I do want to express our appreciation to the principal of Coronado High School and all the staff here who pivoted to allow us to be able to hold this meeting in the auditorium. As you saw, it was very full earlier this evening, and they did make adjustments to the schedule for students who are preparing for a dance performance, I think, coming up tomorrow. So thank you to everyone at Coronado who helped make this possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy to give us an update on the amazing work we're doing in career and technical education.
Ski, Vice President Werner, Dr. Menzel, members of the board, and Gladys. And everybody who stayed for such a lovely presentation you get to see. Thank you for staying. February is Career and Technical Education Month, and I would like to start with this very short video clip, if it can be played on that first slide, the title slide, back one more. Is it not going to go? While they're getting that ready, it's basically related to rebranding career and technical education in our community so that people understand that CTE is for everyone and just how cool CTE is. So if we get to play it, great. If not, it's the link in the notes later. So for us, really, in CTE, we want to know how to get more students ready for their career. And so we think career and technical education is the ideal way, but it starts earlier than high school. Planning a career is a journey that requires an early start. Arizona has committed to helping school districts meet the needs of students by providing Arizona's K-8 career literacy standards. In the elementary years, students need to become aware of careers and make connections to the real world of work. By the beginning of a child's 6th grade year, students need to begin to explore what careers are in general and have the opportunity to investigate the broader scope of work. In the United States, there are 16 major career clusters. Next slide. During the middle school years, students need exposure to all 16 career clusters in order to know how jobs are related to broader fields of study. SUSD's middle school students have the opportunity to explore all career clusters and get hands-on project-based learning experiences in trending industries in a course titled Design My Future. Mountainside Middle School has been offering this program for 3 years under the title of Designing My Future, which we helped to create as a part of their middle years program for IB students. Both of these middle school titles are offered at SUSD with CTE-funded support from our Perkins Grant for career exploration. The course will help any student figure out what might be of interest to pursue in high school and beyond for a career pathway, also known as a CTE program of study. In high school, so this is the flyer on the class. In high school, students need time to take career and technical education programs. It is a graduation requirement in Arizona to have 1 credit in either CTE or fine arts. Arizona CTE programs are designed to be 2 credits in length, and some programs are offered on a 1-year block schedule to finish both credits in 1 year. CTE programs focus on technical and professional skills that prepare students for post-secondary education in the workforce. And I don't know if we can click to go to the website. Can we click on that link, or is it not going to be doable? Well, you can see our program names there. Thank you. /CTE. pause. And if you click on the word programs, all of these are hyperlinked to flyers so that you can read about each program, what the titles of the courses are, what the CTSO that's aligned with it for the student leadership organization, and then if there's an industry credential or a portfolio item associated, we list that there as well. Some of our courses also offer college credit, and many do offer an industry certificate or a credential. In the fine arts CTE courses, students are eligible to apply for the Seal of Arts for their diploma and can build a portfolio of work as an artist. Students have the opportunity to earn industry-recognized certificates and dual enrollment credits through a majority of our CTE pathways. Pairing robust academics with technical skills is what gives students a competitive advantage in a post-secondary environment and the world of industry. CT students leave high school with the skills necessary to be successful in the world of work and be better prepared for further education and certifications. College going or not, all students need to consider a career that suits their strengths and interests. CT provides students with the opportunity to discover talents and opportunities. Best of all, CT students have stronger grasp of what they might want to do in the near future. Not all decisions are forever, and over the course of a lifetime, most people will have many different jobs in fields that may be unrelated. CT students are more likely to graduate, which is the first hurdle to success. They will gain professional and technical skills to be successful in any path that they choose. And I won't go into detail on this, but it is a part of our KPI, tracking our industry credentials. And on this, I just wanted to point out, you can see how many more programs have a credential now than when we first started trying to fund it. So in 2018-19, there were only 3 programs that had a credential, and now we're up to many more. So that number will continue to grow as we get more kids in CTE, more kids staying the second year to be ready, and more certifications that get approved by the ADE. I think my last slide is just a little taste about internships and work-based learning. We're going to be back in April with our Goal 4 to talk about that. So I just wanted to put the most basic information up, that we're starting with the application process right now for next year, and it will require students to be a senior, and they have to have at least 1 or more credits already completed. They can run concurrent. For the first year getting it off the ground, there will be some students finishing while they're doing their internship. We just want the seniors to miss out in our first year of doing it. They have to be on track to graduate, and they need to be on track to test for their industry certification. And that's all because we'll be vetting them and trying to set them up in these internships. So we are putting our SUSD name on that when we send the students out. So we are starting with these parameters first, and hopefully it can grow from there.
Governing board members, are there any questions for Amy Downs? Board member Dr. Hurtwells.
Thank you, Board President Sanowski. Thank you, Ms. Downs, for the presentation. I have a question about the industry certification, the credential programs. So do I understand it correctly that the limiting factor here is the ADE's approval of the program for an industry certification? Okay.
Yeah, they started in 2018 to want to expand the list, and for a while we had 3 years where under a program that Governor Ducey started, more credentials would be reimbursed with a state fund. Sadly, that particular incentive fund, he was not able to get it renewed that last 6 months he was in office, so the legislature took that out for the next go-round, so we're paying out of it out of our regular grant. But we've seen so much success from the big push that started it when they offered the incentive fund. that made more people look at what credentials aligned. So it's a good thing that it happened, even though we only had 3 years of special money set aside by the state for it. It's made more industries speak up about the different credentials they wish to see our high school students have. So that list has been growing every year.
Thank you. So I understand, is the funding that the state supported these programs is no longer flowing?
Right, it's no longer, this is our last year that we get that particular incentive grant. But we did get it for 3 years in a row, and that money was used to specifically get them ready for credentialing. So this year will be our last bit of money that we have right now, unless something changes and people put a new House bill in to reauthorize it, which would be great.
Okay. What is the outcome tracking for students who have received, I realize that there may not have been a critical mass to start doing that until maybe now, but jobs after graduation with the certifications, particularly in the areas in which they have an industry certification, do we have a means to monitor that, or just collect that data, not monitor it?
Do you mean placement, like seeing where they ended up?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, placement is one of the hardest things because we have to wait 6 months to ask those questions according to our grant. We have to wait till they've been gone from us 6 months to consider them placed. But if they go off to college, that does count as a placement, ideally in the same thing they took from us, but it's not always an exact match, of course, and some go undeclared. So we use that data, and then we do try to follow up 6 months later, the best that we can, to ask them where they ended up. We use data that we can get readily ourselves, but we are relying pretty much on some self-reporting and our teachers tracking them down to find out where they went. So it's not an exact science, but we do pretty well. Most of the time we meet that measurement and usually do better than the state on that. We do have a lot of kids that qualify for placement.
Thank you.
Amy, are you finding that our tracking or the types of credential programs that we're offering are in conjunction with the workforce needs?
It is directly tied to that. It does change, the list changes every year based on what industry tells the ADE. So
how is that communicated from industry? I'm just curious, like who's in charge of doing that?
So the ADE gathers an advisory board, just like we have our own Scottsdale CTE advisory board. They have a larger scale advisory board of industry that tells them what they wish to see students doing. And then they also look at the employment data. So they use that, all the Department of Labor. And we do have several links on our college and career readiness page and our CT page linked to those labor statistics so people can see what Arizona has the most openings in. But we also pick our alignment at the ADE based on what's high paying, not just high need, not just because there's a vacancy, but they try to put more incentive money towards things that would be a higher wage job as well.
Yeah, my concerns are looking at nursing and bioscience as being, there's a decline in the certifications offered, the credential certifications earned by the program. So I feel like those are current needs in the workplace too.
I didn't hear the very last part of your
I don't
question.
know if there was a question there, more of a statement of the bioscience and nursing having a decrease in the numbers from 2018 as reported here, whereas and even engineering, and knowing that some of the job challenges for employment is in those fields, so it's a concern.
Yeah, and the numbers that what I most see from the industry chart, that one is what you're referring to, right? We've got the time where we were mostly remote learning was the hardest for our kids to prepare for these industry certifications. So we did have a dip in there. But now, and we did have a change of instructor for 2 of those 3 programs. And now they've built those programs back up, the enrollment's up higher again. So that naturally will bring up the number of kids that we'll be able to certify. The engineering certification is right now tied to SolidWorks. They get a free high school seat exam for the SolidWorks associate based on our licensing of that product, and they can take it multiple times. So we do expect that number to go back up. And we've added on that Tech Theater one, we've kind of done it every other year on that, and that's the OSHA 10 construction for safety. We teach them the materials, but we wait until we have enough students to do a exam for that. So that one will jump to next year because this May, when we test them, we'll have a number in there again for that.
And then I have one last question on this particular information discussion item. How are we communicating these opportunities to our families, specifically at the middle school, to kind of gear them in and get them thinking of taking some of these courses when they enter high school?
So that has been a really big concern personally for me when my kids were going through middle school, right? I wanted my kids to be aware of everything and have a chance. And so this year especially, the person who is our CT coordinator now, the job that I held last year, he visited every middle school and did pretty much a lunch and learn about CTE to try and do personal recruitment into our programs. We also push into classrooms that will let us do guest speaking on careers in CTE. I personally do that myself as well, either on Teams or in person, to try and make sure students are aware of all the things out there for them. Another way that we're promoting CTE in general is by getting more utilization of our career awareness portal. Right now that's Naviance. And we always have a portal like that of some kind throughout the years because it's a part of our ECAP plan for the educational plan. But we want to really focus on getting our middle school partners to spend a substantial amount of time on that in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade so that kids get to do the career exploration younger instead of 9th grade when they're in their first CTE class. So those are some of the things we're doing. We also have done direct mailers to home, and then we go back and we try to solicit kids that are already taking STEM, things like that. But yeah, in general, we want all middle school students to take part in either the Design My Future class or let us push into an existing class that's popular on campus that's STEM related. So hopefully through those efforts, we'll see our enrollment grow.
Thank you, Amy. Governing board members, any questions or comments for Amy? Nope, seeing none? Nope, yes, go ahead.
So I'm a big fan of the CTE. One of my children participated actually in the sports med program, and it really is about piquing their interest or inspiring interest in the students. And I would love to see more of that being done because it's truly affected my child's life, where he took sports med and then decided to become an athletic trainer aide with Nikki May at Saguaro, which sparked an interest to become a certified EMT, which now he's in his first year of college and he's doing honors biomed and wanting to see. So it's like you introduce them, it sparks an interest, and it really flows to something that they can take into life as a career. So I think it's an amazing program and would love to see it being promoted more and being able to get into the students so they can spark an interest in something.
Right, thank you, Amy. We are going to, Dr. Menzel, do you have anything to add? Nope. Okay, we're going to move on to the first read of Governing Board Policy BCC, and this is a request of Board Member Carney.
Thank you, President Sanowski. So tonight I am recommending that the Governing Board approve the update of Policy BCC. Board member request for information to the language as was approved by the board on December 6th in 2022. That's not the language, though. It's the 2-paragraph policy that was adopted by the board.
I recall there was a clerical error in omitting that second paragraph, and a clerical error, and it's my opinion that it does not supersede the action of the board. Is that correct, council?
Madam President, members of the governing board, that's my opinion as well. Ms. Carney has asked that this be brought back, so if I understand correctly, what she would like to see is the second paragraph removed. So this would be a first read to remove the paragraph that starts if an individual board member requests information.
Dr. Hurtwells.
May I ask why?
Because what was approved was not what is shown on the board.
I think that was addressed, though. What happened?
So just so I understand, you want to delete paragraph 2 that's shown on the screen?
No, as was.
I just want to be clear on what we're doing here.
So I just want to go back to what the former board approved on December 6, 2022. And I understand that there's a supposed clerical error, but the board went through 2 reads of that with 2 paragraphs, and it was approved. And I also presented information on when the language was moved from policy BBAA. Language was added that the second line, and the superintendent is permitted to intercede prior to the staff member responding to the board member. That was never originally in BBAA, but slipped in to BCC without any acknowledgement. So that's a concern.
I recall that we did have acknowledgement of that in previous meetings. Board Member Warner.
So at our last meeting, I was under the understanding that this was tabled to, or it was being brought back as a first read. And with all of the documentation, and I was expecting to see it with the way that Board Member Carney, that it was, that the way that it was approved on the 6th, that verbiage would be also on our deck here today. So I was expecting to see that as well.
Madam President, members of the governing board, that information is within the backup to the agenda item. So if you can scroll to the agenda item and pull up governing board policy BCC supporting documentation, we have the current policy, we have what was submitted to the governing board from the January 25th, 2022 board meeting, what was submitted to the governing board on the February 8th, 2022 board meeting, and then the items submitted on both the November 15th governing board meeting and the December 6th governing board meeting. So all of that information was sent to you as part of the backup. It's not available, as I understand it, with respect to our current screen up here, but it is available on that.
So is the last, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the supporting documents, is that the one that that was approved on December 6th, Board Member Carney, with that word verbiage?
Yes, the 2-paragraph policy is what was approved by the board December 6, 2022, and this is the 3rd time I've brought this up to the board, and I actually was not the board member who asked for it to be tabled and come back as a first read, so I just wanted the 2-paragraph policy that was approved by the board to be brought for first read.
Yeah,
Board Member Warner.
Thank you. So where we're at today, with this is a first read, is this something that requires a second read, or is this something that we can take action on today?
Madam President, members of the governing board, Vice President Warner, this, under your governing board policy, you have a first read and then a second read. When we were at the board meeting last time, I asked if you wanted to act at tonight's meeting or if you wanted 2 reads, and the direction I received was that you wanted 2 reads. So this matter will need to come back for a second read at the March 7th governing board meeting. And at that board meeting, the board could take action to change Governing Board Policy BCC.
Okay. So, thank you. I'll just finish my thought and then, so what I'd like to see is that we move forward with this last page on our supporting documents and move that to the second read so that we can approve it on the next board meeting.
Dr. Hurwells, go ahead.
Thank you. So the proposal is to remove the concept that the superintendent can intercede if the board member is taking an extraordinary amount of staff time with requests. That's the proposal, to remove that concept from the policy. Ms. Carney?
No. What's supposed to be shown up on the screen and is the policy, the 2-paragraph policy that was approved by the board December 6, 2022. And if you all wanted to add something to that, this is the discussion we're having.
I would like to propose that we add what was clerically omitted, and that is the second paragraph saying an individual board member directly requests information of a staff. The board member shall copy the superintendent on such requests, and the superintendent is permitted to intercede prior to the staff member responding to the board member. That's what I would like to see added. Dr. Hurwells?
I want to make the point, what's confusing is you keep asserting that the board approved on December 6th a 2-paragraph policy BCC, which has been disputed. So maybe that keeps confusing me. What we approved on December 6th, 2022 is shown on the screen.
What you approved on December 6th was changes to that 3rd paragraph.
Not the second.
To add the language that at the board member's written request, if you see that in the middle of the 3rd paragraph. So that's the language that was approved on December 6th. Ms. Carney is correct that the backup information on both November 15th and November 6th incorrectly did not include the 2nd paragraph that is shown on your screen. It is my opinion that the board could not remove that paragraph without acting to do so, and it was never shown in strikeout language, such as is typical. So in my opinion, the policy that's currently shown up on the screen here is the current policy of the board. You all have a first read tonight. You can suggest changes to be considered for March 7th. Ms. Carney is suggesting that that 2nd paragraph be removed, and Ms. Sanowski is suggesting that it remain.
Thank you for repeating the fact pattern.
No problem.
So again, though, I just want to point out to the community, the statement that what was approved on December 6, 2022 did not have this 2nd paragraph that is shown on the screen is disputed.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Board Member Carney, or Werner, sorry.
Oh, thank you. So I believe we talked about last time as well, there was a video of the board meeting on December 6th, and that is where it was shown everything that's in dispute right now. And I'd actually asked for us to watch it. I have not gone back to watch it, but maybe if we can get a clip of that, and just so that everybody feels that they're heard in this particular situation with this policy.
I feel that's a waste of time. We've already hashed through this. We've approved it. It was a 5-0 vote. There's a mechanism clearly in place for obtaining the governing board approval for these requests of work on our staff. We are not in these positions to micromanage our employees and our asks of them. I think it's really important, since our only employee is our superintendent, it's really important that our superintendent is aware of the workload we're imposing upon our employees. I do not feel like it's appropriate for us to have front and center request making of our employees. They have jobs to do, and that's why they're hired to work in this district. I don't think it's appropriate for governing board members to have a direct line to request any employee to do an inordinate amount of work. That's why this policy, BCC, with all 3 paragraphs and the last sentence, was approved by the last governing board with a 5-0 vote.
Well, then I proposed, President Sinowski, then I propose we move forward with policy BCC as was approved by the board, the 2-paragraph policy. And then if you'd like to add back in, if an individual board member directly requests information of a staff member, the board member may copy the superintendent on such requests. That was in the prior BBAA policy, but the line after that was never acknowledged and was never.
You're talking about the second paragraph.
Yes.
This has been made clear publicly that that second paragraph omission was a clerical error, and it was not the intent of the board.
Madam President, I think Ms. Carney is talking about the last sentence on the second paragraph. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I think Ms. Carney's point is that she would like to see that last sentence, and the superintendent is permitted to intercede prior to the staff member responding to the board member, removed.
Yes.
What would you like done with that?
Well, I would like the 2-paragraph policy that was supposed to be shown, if we want to add back in the if an individual board member directly requests information of a staff member, the board member shall copy the superintendent on such requests. That was taken from policy BBAA, moved over. The line, and the superintendent is permitted to intercede prior to the staff member responding to the board member, was never originally in BBAA, and it was moved into the policy without any acknowledgement. So that's my proposed first read.
Dr. Hartwells.
Again, I just want to make it clear to the community that some statements are being made that are in dispute and that are not necessarily accurate. So just want to keep to what we have in front of us, what the action you want to that you're requesting, so that we can kind of stop the characterizations. What we have in front of us on the screen that the community also has in front of it is the policy that council has advised was approved on December 6, 2022. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
So I think that in an effort to be team players and showing that we can work well together, it is reasonable we're here for the first read, we're able to make changes, and in the world of being reasonable, I think that we should all come together and be able to work together and make some compromises. That would be my suggestion.
But this policy has already been approved as we're seeing it here.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, what I would suggest is that we bring back Governing Board Policy BCC for a second read with the removal of the second sentence of paragraph 2 as requested by Ms. Carney in her attempt to meet a meeting of the minds with respect to the 5 board members, and consider that as the second read for March 7th. Would that be permissible?
I'm sorry, paragraph 2 has no 2 sentences.
You're correct. Thank you, Dr. Hartwells. It would be the last clause of the run-on sentence in paragraph 2. So the paragraph would end with the word requests. If an individual board member directly requests information of a staff member, the board member shall copy the superintendent on such requests, period. Is that correct, Ms. Carney?
Correct.
So that's what I would suggest that we bring back as a second read. The board can make additional changes on March 7th. And can keep the existing policy, can adopt the version suggested by Ms. Carney, or can adopt the version without that paragraph in its entirety. It would be up to the will of the board.
Seeing that there are no other requests for comment, we will move on to 7C, the first read of Governing Board Policy DJE, I believe, regarding bidding purchasing procedures.
So Shannon Crozier will begin the conversation, but I'd like to invite Dennis and Roger to come to the microphone to be able to answer any questions that might surface related to the underlying reason for this policy change request.
Madam President, if the Tech could go scroll up so that the change can be seen. It's lower down in the policy. Keep going, please. Go back up, please. Sorry. Thank you.
Can you scroll down to the bottom of page 2?
Just above online bidding.
Right.
Oh, the number amount?
Okay. So this is a request that was brought to me by both Dennis Rayler, our facilities director, and Roger Spivey, our purchasing director. The Arizona Department of Administration recently changed their threshold for job order contracting, otherwise known as JOC, increasing it from $1 million to $2 million when needing governing board approval. Or to be able to, it would still come to the governing board, but for being able to use that as a JOC. And so both of them immediately jumped on that email and said, could we please address this as something that we could take to the board as a policy? And so we're bringing it forth tonight as a recommended change in our board policy, which would change the amount for job order contracting services up from $1 million to $2 million. Of course, any purchase over $100,000 would always come to the governing board for approval.
Thank you, Shannon. Governing board members, do you have any questions on this? Dr. Hurt-Wells, go ahead.
Thank you, Board President Sanowski. Thank you, Ms. Kruger. Could you give us an example of where this would be very efficient to have had, please?
Yes, President Sanowski, members of the board, Dr. Menzel, Dr. Hart-Wells, the most recent, most specific item that we've had over at Navajo Elementary School, we had brought our SFB liaison to the campus to inspect the roof. He had mentioned to us that that would be a perfect candidate for a JOC project. And so we moved quickly, got with Progressive Roofing, very simple roof replacement, really no need for architectural design or structural design. And so we got that quote and we were at $1.4 million. And so because we did not have our JOC limit above $1 million, we were not able to do that. So now we are backpedaling a little bit. We've lost that opportunity to get an immediate approval from the SFB, and we are now working with the architects to put a design together, therefore put a spec together, and then go through the bid process. So at minimum, it's going to cost us a little more than $100K for design services, and then at maximum, because of the construction industry the way it is, we may see an increase of 8 to 10% on that as we wait for the design and the bid process.
Oh, thank you. Plus the time, right? Time is money.
Time is money.
Thank you, Mr. Rayler.
No other questions? It looks like,
Sorry.
Board Member Warner.
Thank you. Is there any downside when it comes to transparency and accountability to our community by approving this today?
One of the biggest things about alternative delivery project methods is that we have to do a determination. There are 7 questions that they have identified that we have to bring to you when we go for board approval and make a determination why we're using those methods. JOC is one of them. Construction manager at risk is another. So we need to make a determination. Roger and I would work together, make that determination, and identify what that process was in which we received bids, Sometimes we go directly to the contractor that we know will do the best job. Other times we'll put contractors against each other to get a better number. But just based on our history, we know the contractors that are going to give us a good number and a good job, and those that will give us a good number but not necessarily a good job. So JOC helps us through that process to expedite the work, the effort, and assure us a good price.
All right, thank you.
Dennis, does this change have anything to do with state statute changes?
Yeah, so the most recent change actually came from AZDOA. Statute always allowed for them to go above $1 million. It just had to be approved by whatever their governing body is. And then I think it was October, November, they finally issued a new solicitation and did approve full use of $2 million going forward. But also keep in mind that's $2 million per project, right? So we, individual projects that would exceed that, we would still have to go through a bid process. And keep in mind, this hasn't been updated, I think, since 2008. And construction costs have gone up probably 300% since 2008. So a $1 million project today is nowhere near what it was back then. So it's price index shows us it's necessary right now.
Thank you for that input. Any more questions or comments? Okay, seeing that there are none, we are going to move along. And at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Is there a second? There's a second by Carney.
Sorry, I didn't.
All in favor to approve the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0. Okay, so we've had I was pulled first. We'll discuss that one first. That's a recommend approval of position and job description for Emergency Management Program Supervisor. Dr. Hartwells?
Yes, thank you. I was hoping that Dr. Menzel could comment on the need to add an administrative staff member.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, as you know, security is a top priority for us. Safety and well-being of our students and staff is of paramount importance to the educational learning environment. And we have grown the number of security staff, and we are much closer to being fully staffed than we've ever been before, part because the board previously approved moving 9-month positions to 12-month positions, and so we've been able to maintain what's closer to full staffing. What's becoming increasingly clear is that the day-to-day management of our security staff, coupled with the overall security requirements, real-time emergency response and all the rest, is very time-consuming. So managing the current people, plus all of the other components of ensuring that we're prepared for a critical response to emergent issues, necessitated having an additional position. And so what we've done is worked on identifying something that would be another 12-month employee that helps balance the workload in the security team. With Josh, and I do appreciate, I know he's here somewhere, he and his team work tirelessly, and they're working not only during the school day, but they're working evenings during events, they're working weekend events for school things to make sure our campuses are safe. And so to be able to manage all of that, to have another supervisory position balances that workload so that we don't burn anyone out. So as part of our attracting and retaining talent, this was, as we discussed at a cabinet, seen as something that was pretty important.
Thank you. I also want to point out the salary here. Could you do the comparison, please? To a
Sure.
teacher
So
of the same seniority?
the salary that's proposed in the board agenda is the all-in cost of the position, compensation for a 12-month employee plus benefits. That includes the ARS retirement. So you put all of those costs together, and that is the mid-range of what we would have for a position at this level. We're not likely to hire someone with 9 years of experience, but that's sort of where it's placed. So we anticipate the cost to be less, but Shannon budgets conservatively, so you're seeing a larger number for that reason. When you compare that with, say, a third-year teacher, the per diem rate for a third-year teacher this year would be just under $265 per day. for this position at the 9-year experience level would be $255 as a daily rate. The difference in the salary amount is really tied to one position's 9.5 months and another is 12 months. So that kind of explains the price differential, but it is not an $85,000 a year position as a salary.
And I believe there was a range
Yes.
included with this, right? Okay, depending on the candidate and their experience.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you, Dr. Menzel.
sorry, Dr. Hartwells. Board Member Werner.
I have a few questions. Where is this funding coming from? Where is it being taken from?
Well, this is coming out of indirect funding, so not
Okay.
maintenance and operation. We have indirect funding that's been generated over time, and so we're using that as a source of resources. You might remember that we've talked about min-max before, and so this is one of those areas where we have some revenue that is available to be used and doesn't jeopardize our maintenance and operating fund and allows us to be able to enhance the security team.
Okay. So being that we're so close to our budget conversations, I would really like to table this and put it along with our budget conversations because this is a lot of money and it is budget related and this is something that we should not be prioritizing right now. And the other thing is I'd like to have some conversations with Josh and see where really is it, where are we lacking with our security and then our SROs, and is this really needed at this time, and could the money be spent other places?
So that's at the discretion of the governing board. Any board member can make a motion to table, and if it passes, it can be tabled. I would say that from a administrative perspective, and I don't know if Josh is close to the microphone, but because he would be willing to answer questions. One of the reasons why we brought it forward now instead of as something that would start in July 1st is that the summer months are really important as we work to ensure that we were reviewing all of our campuses, looking for vulnerabilities, improving access and support for those buildings. So absent this position, it puts us behind as we get those productive summer months where we don't have as many students on campus. But I do see Josh has made his way to the microphone.
Thank you, Dr. Menzel. President Sanowski, members of the governing board, Vice President Warner, that's exactly the reason we're bringing it forward now is that we, going through this and then opening the position and then moving it forward, we're already behind the 8 ball. The security staff has done a lot over the course of this semester or this year. And we are getting ready to do a presentation to the board of where we're at. I believe it's coming beginning of March. But the problem is, and it's not really a problem, it's just the quicker approval of this and opening and hiring and moving forward would really allow this. Currently, there's one security supervisor who oversees all 35 security guards across all 29 campuses. And he's running ragged. So this would really help with creating that equality to keep him around.
Board Member Kearney.
Yeah, I think I would really like to see that discussion and that presentation first before approving a position. I think that would really be helpful to understand the need a little better. So I think I motion to table. Oh, I would second because you already did it. I would second the motion to table this until we can see the discussion and the presentation on this.
There's been a motion made and a seconded motion by Ms. Kearney. All in favor to table this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed to tabling?
Nay.
Nay. That motion is denied to table. At this time, I would like to make a motion to recommend the approval of the position and job description for Emergency Management Program Supervisor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded by Dr. Hartwells. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, we have 3 ayes to recommend the approval and 2 abstentions. The motion passes 3-2. Moving on to 8K, approval of advancement via individual determination, AVID expansion plans. Dr. Hart-Wells.
Yes, thank you. I would ask that Dr. Benson just comment, if you could, a little bit on how we're going to monitor outcomes for the programs that are not just in place, but also the expansion. If you could speak just a little bit to that kind of framework, accountability framework, would be appreciated. Thank you.
I appreciate the question. Good evening again, board members. We've received a handful of follow-up questions since the informational discussion item on February 7th about our plans to expand AVID programming. One of those questions included what are our plans to evaluate the success or the metrics we use to measure our success and our progress. And we have a host of those in alignment with our KPIs, but specifically students' performance measures on state testing, as we do report out in other areas, including AZELA tests, students' results on our benchmarks, attendance and behavioral data, GPAs at the middle and high school levels for the schools that we are expanding to at the secondary level, progress towards the professional development goals identified by our plans, evidence of campus-wide adoption of specific strategies included specific to AVID, and then ratings of the CCI, the coaching and certification instrument that comes with an adoption of AVID programming. There were additional measures, but those are the main that we've highlighted that we've identified previously, we'll use currently and moving forward as metrics to monitor our progress.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Given the presentation that we received and Dr. Dansky's depth of experience in this program, I would just encourage you, and I'm sure you are doing, not that you aren't busy enough, but if Dr. Dansky's experience could be drawn on as a mentor across the district to elevate our AVID programs, I sense there's an opportunity there, and if she'd be willing to help with that leadership, I think that would benefit the district across the board.
Board Member Kern.
Yeah, I agree with what Board Member Hartwells is saying exactly. Yeah, we have an opportunity with Dr. Dansky in the district, and I think that we know that we've had the program in the past, and we know it's not been as successful at certain campuses as we'd like to. So I think it seems like a program that really would be helpful for our students if we're making sure that we're getting each site what they need, and if we're all diligent in helping in that and staying on top of the numbers and just being a little more aware. I think this go around, I know with COVID and everything that happened, it's kind of hard to go back to those years and see good data with that. So I think that if we can use the experience that we now have in the district, we could probably really strengthen AVID on our other campuses. So
we would agree. Appreciate the highlight and the acknowledgement of Dr. Dansky, who's still with us yet this evening, as a champion of AVID programming.
Board Member Warner.
So the principals that I've spoken to that have this, that have the AVID program, they absolutely rave about it, and it seems like it's working really, really well in the schools, and we definitely want to continue to support that. But I will just also add that I would like to see some results to make sure that it really is effective and that we're maximizing the program and really supporting our students and our teachers in that program.
Board Member Dr. Hartwell, since you pulled this, would you like to make a motion to approve it?
I would like to make a motion to approve the approval of the advancement via individual determination expansion plans.
And I would like to second that.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And last but not least of these is 8J, recommend approval of revised job description for general counsel. Board Member Warner.
Okay, I have a couple questions on this, and it also falls in line with our budget conversations coming up. So this is a position that actually Superintendent Menzel and I had a conversation about, and I had made this request. And looks like legal counsel Bird was paid $140,000 based on a previous contract, and then this position is now going up to $205,000. And again, we're going into budget talks. This is something that would be better served closer to the budget talks. And the second one that we can address it together is there's a lot of lack of transparency with the general counsel reporting to the superintendent. I'd like to see a change where they're reporting to the board, just so that we can have more transparency in what is happening in our district, particularly with anything that is legal. So those are my two questions.
So I can address the first part with respect to the cost. So this falls under a cabinet contract compensation, so there's a range. So like the prior conversation around the security position, Shannon identifies a point on the range, a midpoint generally. So the 205 is inclusive of the benefits associated with the position. So if you take what would have been 140 plus the 30% plus whatever the calculation is, and that was probably raised a little bit just to allow for some flexibility from a budgeting perspective. The other part with respect to this is if we post the position, it doesn't obligate us to hire someone. It allows us to get started, see what the potential interest is, and then make a decision before we bring it back to the governing board. Time is of the essence. You know, if we are almost in March for all practical and intents and purposes. If you post for 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how long we think is advisable, then you schedule first round and second round interviews. You're bringing back a recommendation to the governing board in April or early May. And then if a person's currently employed, they have a period of time for transition. So we're still only bringing them on either at the end of June or beginning of July. Oftentimes in transition like this, having some level of overlap is useful. So that's why we want to post, but I think it's reasonable to say before we fill, let's make sure from a budget perspective that this is the best value for the dollar.
Okay.
It was why we took it off when Lori left the position and decided to work with Jennifer McLennan. It was very intentional that way to say, can we do this more cost effectively using the prepaid legal that we have with the trust. And so that's what we've been doing for this year, but open to whatever the board wants to, however you want to move forward with respect to this position.
Dr. Menzel, can you address the concern about how legal counsel reports?
So now this is not a new conversation for Scottsdale Unified School District. There's been a time in the past where the legal counsel has reported to the board, reported jointly to the board and the superintendent. The board made a change to the policy to have general counsel report to me. It was somewhere in the 2021 school year, I think, pretty early in my tenure, because there was, at least from what I understand, and nobody here is on the board that made that decision, but we could go back and talk to people who were. It was just one of those things where the board didn't oversee the work of the general counsel on a daily basis. So it made the evaluation process a little awkward because the superintendent was the person overseeing the daily work of general counsel. So
Policy BDG? Which policy was that?
I don't know, I have to look, hold on. I also lost internet, so I'm not able to pull it up. But there would be an ability to go back and see how it was structured previously. I just don't remember if it's BDG or not.
So, I mean, I'm supportive of the position. I'm the one who brought it forward. But I would like to have a conversation around how the council reports and how we can get some more transparency around that.
Can I ask for clarification with the word transparency? What would you like that to look like?
I would like to have an idea of what is happening within our district from the council's perspective, and when They were just reporting to the superintendent. That cuts the board really out with reports, and I'd like to see that open up.
So if I'm understanding that, in the past, there were reports that were provided by general counsel to the governing board to kind of give a status of work that's being done, lawsuits in terms of their status and other things that might address part of the concern you're talking about. Those were more regular. With the way that the relationship has been structured here, we've been focusing on just addressing the most pressing issues, but that would certainly be something that could be incorporated and was historically incorporated as part of general counsel's role with the district.
Okay.
Dr. Hurtwells.
Thank you, President Sanowski. I just want to comment, this is more of a comment, less of a question, and I do have one question, but with respect to counsel, we'd have to be careful about we're using these words transparency here, because counsel gives legal advice that's attorney-client privileged, so you have to be careful to not blow that privilege. It would put the district at risk. So there's only so much transparency into a conversation with counsel that could be afforded without gutting the whole concept of counsel. So I just wanted to point that out. But my question actually, so that was my comment. My question is, I'm aware that there have been some changes historically in more recent history of the board, the council reporting the board, council, in-house counsel, working on behalf of the board, working or reporting the superintendent. So my question is, just from a practical standpoint, that would mean the board would have to hire the council, correct? Am I understanding?
Well, the board hires all positions. The question is about the functional reporting. So you approve any hire. It's about, functionally, what's the line of supervision and accountability?
If the council is reporting to us, you're the only employee that reports to the board.
Right, unless you change policy, that it would be true. BDG did come up, and it specifically states the superintendent shall evaluate the performance of the general counsel annually after receiving input from the governing board and general counsel. So what was modified, it used to be the board evaluated the performance of general counsel. That got to be frustrating because they didn't observe directly, and so it's like, what's this exercise for? This still gave the board the ability to respond. So another example is, according to this policy, any board member can talk with general counsel that's hired by the district along with the superintendent, but only the board president and superintendent can reach to outside counsel. So there's some bumpers that are put on how we access legal counsel. And that's done to both manage risk and ensure that we have clear lines of communication. But you have more ability with someone who's employed directly by the district to have those conversations.
Are you finished, Dr. Hurtwells?
Yes, so I guess, yes, but then a follow-up question then, and maybe this is to the board, or board member Warner, what value do you see in making that change? Could you help me understand?
Absolutely. So I actually liked what Superintendent Menzel just said, actually, and if the council does a report to the board, so I hope that everybody on here understands attorney-client privilege, in which we all abide by, so transparency with the board only, obviously, since it's attorney-client privilege, but I just think that it would be great if we implemented that the council would do reports to the board monthly or quarterly and so on, and I'd actually like to make a motion to approve this with the added verbiage of the council will report to the board regularly.
So provide regular updates to the governing board.
Yes.
That's what you mean.
The job
Right,
description.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would second that. There's been a motion made and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0. All right, we are going to move on to our one and only action item for this evening, the second read and approval of Governing Board Policy BA regarding school board operational goals. Board Member Carney.
Thank you, President Sinowski. So I just recommend to the governing board that we approve policy BA as shown on the screen and as discussed at the first read.
Dr. Hartwells.
Thank you, Board President Sinowski. So my remarks are really for the students, the staff, our district caregivers, families, community members at large, because I want you to know why I'm going to vote the way I am. The last two meetings of our newly constituted governing board, I have asked questions about the proposed language before us tonight. Old language being plopped into newer language. Newer language that charts an operational focus for our district that aligns with the very purpose of this education community, students. My questions have been rooted in a sincere effort to understand the why. Why go back at all? And the answers just weren't there. There were rationalizations, but not reasons. So I'm left to ask myself why. What is it about this language that requires distorting the operational focus that's currently recited in policy BA? And I quote in part, "To act in good faith in the best interests of the district as a whole, with the paramount concern being the best interest of student learning, achievement, and well-being." And you may be apathetic about this and just ask yourself, who cares? It was there before. Well, apathy deserves no seat at the table of governance. Folding back in old language is not cosmetic. There are consequences, and they're not benign. Policy development is serious work, and the context of every word of a policy matters. It matters because the policy has consequences. Well, I am not apathetic, and I don't believe you are either. So let's just take a little closer look at this old language, and specifically three words in particular. Own, opinions, required. Recall that this policy BA is about governance. It's about how the board members will execute their duties operationally. Own, the context requires us to construe that word as owners. Opinions, not facts, not evidence, not even reality, are required for governance. Yeah, that is an old philosophy, one that's much older than 8 years, and one whose progenitor is not ASBA. The placement of old language in the new is anything but benign. Over the last 2 years, 3 of us have served together on this board, together with your predecessors and all their community, and we have achieved and accomplished some good things by keeping our paramount concern focused on the best interest of students and their learning, achievement, and well-being. And with the newly constituted board, I sincerely hope to continue that good progress. I do. But what's before us tonight isn't going to get us there. And that's why I'm urging my board colleagues to join me in voting no to this action item.
Dr. Hartwells, I have a question. Without the words own and replacing require with employ, actually without that phrase, who own and those 3 words, and then replacing require with employ. So it would read, as representatives of the people and who support the schools, the board accepts the responsibility to identify community attitudes and opinions, which we do through our public comment and our communication with the community at large throughout our work, and district needs, and to employ short and long-term strategies that are responsive within the budgetary limitations of the district. As I read that, how does that sit with you?
So to clarify, you're asking if the posted amended language were further amended.
Correct.
To remove own and.
Correct.
And to
Yeah.
require to amend to employ.
Correct.
The infinitive. What are my thoughts on that change?
Yes.
Well, I think it certainly improves the language. The word "to require" was not in the original SUSD policy anyway. I want to point out the danger in requiring us to react to opinions. Facts, evidence, and reality is my life. It is a reality that when we sit up here on this board, that we absolutely are part of our communities, and we hear folks' opinions, and we hear folks' attitudes and input, frankly, input. And it does influence how we work up here. And regardless of what this language says, we're going to all continue to do that. I'm concerned about the danger of this paragraph has not aged well. That's my reaction without
Yeah, no, I
having had
appreciate
time
that.
to digest that
It's-
further.
I'm absorbing it. It's settling in right now. Any other comments requested here?
I appreciate.
Board Member Werner?
Thank you. I appreciate your suggestions and would support them.
Board Member Carney, it looks like you're wanting to request to speak.
Sorry. President Sinowski, I as well would make those changes to the policy, and that is why what I was looking for from the board is, because I know there were concerns last time, is to bring changes that do work better for all of us.
So it would read, as representatives of the people who support the schools, the board accepts the responsibility to identify community attitudes and opinions and the district needs, and to employ short and long-range strategies that are responsive within the budgetary limitations of the district.
I make a motion to approve policy BA with the changes that President Sinowski just made.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor to approve the amended version as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That motion passes 4-1. Right. We're going to move on to part 10 of our agenda, which is asking for future items. I've asked for a security update. That may be something we discuss in executive session, as I understand. I also ask that we have a detailed discussion on athletics and extracurricular offerings, finance, including stipends for such work, and changes that have taken place since last year. I'd also like to request that we have, this does not have to become part of a board meeting, but Dr. Menzel, if we can have some future discussion and proposals for consideration of nature-based outdoor education, possibly in partnerships with the McDowell Conservancy, Healthful Schools Coalition of Arizona, with input from our science and physical education specialists, to be added to future offerings of courses, either through club basis or direct course instruction. And then consideration for course creation, maybe even through a wheel type of scenario. I know some of our middle schools use the wheel. There's been constant conversation that I've had with other people in our community about the needs for students learning some basic life skills. So, you know, personal finance, banking, budgeting, savings, investing, independent living, cooking, cleaning, fixing things, employment search skills, internet safety, personal safety, et cetera, that we somehow work this into our curriculum as requested and the interest of our community. I think there was one more, but I'll let someone else offer if they have some. Zach, go ahead. Board Member Lindsay?
Would like to see Michelle Urban and Nathan Slater's supplemental presentation on the stipends and the pay as compared with the other districts.
Yes, and I think that would kind of go along with part of that conversation, right? Yep. Board Member Hartwells.
Thank you. I'd like to request a report out on the status of incorporating computer science, in particular artificial intelligence and machine learning into the curriculum. Related, some summary of opportunities, if there's been some diligence on what's available to students and staff to learn more about AI and ML. These systems are not our future, they are our present. Would like to request the board learn more about how the teaching and learning has been adapted to reflect that. Thank you.
Super. Board Member Werner?
I had requested and exchanged some emails with Superintendent Menzel regarding parents back on campus. This is very school to school right now, and there's not a whole lot of consistencies, and it really shows up in our southern schools. And so I'll be working with him on making some adjustments, well, possible adjustments to our policy KI so that we can have a better access for all of our families that want, or our parents and guardians that want to volunteer in the classroom or have lunch with their students.
Might I suggest too, we receive an update on the number of volunteers that have been vetted through our district for safety and security reasons, and possibly maybe working with the principals to find out how many schools are taking advantage of volunteers to see if that is a need. Go ahead. Board Member Werner. No? Anything else? All right. Time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this lengthy meeting. It's 9:40 p.m. Oh. Sure. Okay, our next board meeting, dates for upcoming meetings. March 7th at the MDA, there will be a special governing board meeting beginning at 6 p.m. Tuesday, March 21st, we will be back in our boardroom at 6 p.m. for a regular governing board meeting. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 5-0. This meeting is adjourned. It's 9:40 p.m.